And we're off. Take it away, man.
Welcome tonight to the first episode of Upon the Blood Red Sand, a Savage Worlds adventure featuring our three intrepid heroes. Sergeant Terence Hawthorne of the British Army, I believe.
North African Rifles, yep.
North African Rifles. Fergal McGuire, an Irishman, and the footballers of the British Army. And Baldric Hawkins, a intrepid surgeon attached to the British forces from New Zealand as a colonial fighter. And with that, the three of you, as we did session 0 last time, we did a little preamble where the three of you found yourselves in Gallipoli upon the beaches, getting ready to do an assault. Your commander, you guys had some questions about, but he was your commanding officer and such, and he led you guys up the hill into a veritable firestorm, into some burning forest. The smoke obscured your vision, and after a moment of dizziness and disorientation, you found yourselves waking up somewhere. And with that, as you wake up, I would like each of you to describe your characters, if you would, starting with Sergeant Terence Hawthorne, because you're the top there.
All right. Terence is an Englishman from Blackwood, living in Wales. He is, much like the portrait there, he has kind of a sandy auburn hair. When the light hits it, it doesn't want to make up its mind whether it wants to be auburn, brunette, or flaxen, really. He is clean shaven, as he is a non-commissioned officer for African Army. He's wearing the typical dark brown battle dress for the British Army of the time. He's laden down with his combat webbing and a Lewis machine gun. He has a one tiny scar on the just the right bit of his lip. He had actually sliced himself shaving his mustache about 8 months previously, and that's covered up by his mustache now. He's kind of bronzed up nicely. Been stationed in Egypt for the past before today, a good 2 years, I believe, Keith. And they're about 2 years in Egypt. He's been in the army for about 4.5 now, before the Great War began, and he's a bit fearful of Gallipoli, but him being a learned individual, he's keeping that under wraps. He has to lead by example here. He's got to take care of his lads. And I'll pass it on here.
All right, and tell us what we see of Private Fergal McGuire.
Private Fergal McGuire is he's not a tall man. He's about 5.5 feet tall, slight build, and very sturdy though. Built like a brick house. He is redhead, short-haired, and he sports a tweaked nose. It tweaks a little to the right a little bit, probably from some fighting of, maybe he got smarted for doing something wrong when he was younger. Hard to say. He is standard dress, wearing a pith helmet, carrying his Enfield Mark III, bayonet ready, because mid-charge is in place, and at the moment he is kind of spinning wildly as to what's happening. But prior to this, he had the unlucky which is kind of surprising for an Irishman. He had the luck of being stuck, pun intended, with Sergeant Terry. Um, he's found him to be kind of a hard ass, but realizing that he's in charge, he's not. He's still trying to win back favor, considering they had a little bit of a tussle, and it's still undetermined because I think there's a second round possibly coming. But he's thankful that at least he knows the medic that's with them, and that is Fergal McGuire. I apologize if my accent sounds Scottish at times because I haven't mastered an Irish accent. Not like I've mastered a Scottish one either, but
Those are very hard to master, but easy to imitate at least. And what do we see there of Baldric Hawkins?
Baldric Hawkins is pushing about 5'5". He's not the tallest of men. He's got this wavy black hair, gray eyes that are wide in both confusion and anger, because this is not what he signed up for at all. He knows both of these bastards, worked with them before, and he is really not happy at this commander. He's wearing typical outfit, as expected of a World War I British soldier. And he has a medic's pouch on his left hip. And he's just ready to do his job, whatever it may be. Because, well, he knows that there's always going to be something unexpected.
Well, as you find yourself disoriented and the smoke passes before your eyes, you seem to see flashes of light. It seems to go all through the spectrum. There's possibly even light that you can't really identify as a specific color, but it does flash before your eyes. And the next thing you know, your eyes open on darkness. And you notice that it is very, very cold. You just left a battle in mid-July. It's probably one of the hottest days you ever experienced in your lives. And you're slowly dropped into a very cold environment, very dark. You all find yourselves prone, not as if you were, as if you tripped over something, but as if you're waking up from a nap. And against your face, you feel a very soft material. Doesn't feel like bedding or straw or grass. It's the closest you can probably get to it is maybe moss. And your eyes open upon a great flat plain. Off in the distance, you can see mountains, possibly, maybe buildings. It's hard to tell in the gloom, seeing that you just came from midday, and the burn of the smoke is still in your eyes. You still smell it upon your clothes. And the breeze carries a very spicy scent, sort of like the kind of smell that you get on the edge of the desert. It has almost the scent of like a mixture of maybe sage and something else, but it's not exactly what you've experienced before. And you notice the sky is dotted with stars, just literally billions of them. You can see the Milky Way spinning above your head like you normally would. And it must be a moonless night, except that you see on the horizon, literally going down, a ball of light that could be the moon. It's hard to say. It's more potato shaped as you literally watch it fall beyond the horizon. What do you do?
Well, Terry will haul himself to his feet and kind of taking in that descent to the environment, his first response is to look for the sea, which naturally would have been behind them. He looks behind them to see landscape.
Yes, the continuation of this flat plane you seem to be on. It's hard to see in the darkness. This is the night is like very much either a moonless night or a moon or not when the moon is is fully darkened.
Mm-hmm.
But you do see what looks like maybe far in the distance mountains or hills. But literally all around you, you're on this what seems to be almost a featureless flat plain, except for on the very horizon you see these up thrusts. So
I'm going to look at my companions. I'm going to say, well, he points behind him. The ocean is supposed to be over there. And he points to the mountains opposite that. And those were not there this morning. And as far as I am aware, and I'm going to look at Hawkins, the sun was up when we left this morning, wasn't it? A little accusatorially, not accusing you like you're the problem here, but very accusatorially to the situation.
Honestly, I've got no clue at this point. Are we sure those mushrooms we ate were good?
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I've been drinking, but nah. I've had no mushrooms, good sir.
I've been telling you from the beginning, this has been all cocked up. This whole thing is just some sort of fucking spiritualist wet dream.
I'm gonna Terry's gonna take a knee and kind of like grab a fistful of like moss or sand or.
And for the record, I'm not gonna yell in my microphone, but Fergal's voice is raised because we were just in gunfire and his ears are kind of. So he shouted at Terry that this is all cocked up, sir.
Yeah, your ears are definitely.
We've been fucking rat bagged.
It's
steady on, mate. We're no one's shooting right now.
It's a ploy of that officer who sent us out here. Where is he? I have some tests I need to run.
So Terrence, as you lean down and get a handful of this material on the ground, it comes up easily. It obviously is attached, but it seems like it's probably very, very loosely attached to the soil underneath.
Is there possibly? Oh, sorry to cut you off. Go for it.
Go
sorry, Keith.
I'll say that the consistency is very similar to English moss, the kind that grows under oak trees and such back home. But that stuff usually, when you grab it, it resists being pulled up this easily. It doesn't feel dead, but it's definitely just with the bare minimum of light that you're having, your eyes are now starting to adjust to. You're seeing that it's a lighter color. It's not green. So
when I pull up a little bit of this turf, do I see Martian dirt, sand underneath it?
Well, it's definitely sandy soil. It's sort of hard to tell what color it is, though.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of like pull this turf aside and put it in a pile and kind of go for a little bit of that dirt. I'm actually gonna smell the earth.
That's definitely where that spicy smell is. But as you're doing that, as you just sort of just casually toss this bit of material aside, it flies like 6 feet.
I'll smell the dirt in my hand, and I'll just kind of like.
It's definitely earth. Yeah, it's
okay.
Definitely earth. It has a dry smell similar to like the sand that you had in Egypt. You can detect a little bit of salt content possibly.
But I do not smell the sea, do I?
No, there is no sea to it. This is definitely more like a desert type material. Yeah, we toss it. The larger pieces fly off quite a lot further than you would expect them to.
Yeah, I'll seeing that the turf kind of flew a little bit, and I'll just kind of like very very gently, like what I would do, like toss like a pen on a nearby table, kind of use that much force.
It flies about 5 or 6 feet.
Do I catch the last bit of that potato-shaped
Yeah.
moon kind of
Yeah,
going
you
by
all
there?
you all were able to see that. Yeah.
I'm gonna say, this isn't Egypt, this isn't Turkey. Because that's not our moon.
Very perceptive. He is going to start kneeling down like Terry was, but he's going to start looking around and doing notice to try to take in anything in the area.
All right, make me a notice check. Yeah, and you're also feeling a little unsteady on your feet, just so you know. So it seems like something's just off, like maybe your equilibrium's off a little bit for everybody.
It's
So,
probably good that I took a knee then.
yeah.
And in the process, I actually buttoned up my shirt because we were probably in our wool still, and so he had,
Oh yeah.
we were trying to cool off. So he starts buttoning it up real quick, and he remembers his cigarette case, and he pops it open, and he pops a cigarette in his mouth and starts smoking it. And he kind of coughs a little bit.
Well, when you pop the cigarette case open, it almost flies out of your hand because of the force of you flip the top open.
Okay.
And you pull the cigarette out, and you put it to your lips, and go to close the case, and you actually dent the case accidentally. So,
Damn it.
Careful with that, Fargo.
So I got a 5 and a 2. We're rolling a d6 on top of it, right? The wild card die?
So the higher of the 2 dice.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I got a 5.
You look around, and the place seems fairly quiet. You don't hear like you spend a bit of time in Egypt, and you probably guys have probably been out into the desert a bit, and generally you hear night birds. You hear the different night animals that would be out and about in the area. You would see bats in the sky and such. This place is just quiet. All you hear is just the whisper of wind across whatever this turf is.
Are we up on kind of like a hill? Like a hillock?
You might be on a bit of a rise, so it's actually not completely flat. It's more like very gently rolling. But yeah, you're definitely in a flat of some type. So, but generally flat.
Terry is going to he's going to check his Lewis and make sure that there's a there's a bullet in the chamber.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm gonna say to my compatriots, I'm gonna have a look around, and I'm gonna look if there's like a next higher rise up, and I'm going to try and walk in that direction.
Yeah. Well, first off, did we notice check? So,
okay. My notice is my notice is D8. So I need a D8, and notice is also smarts.
Oh, it's D8 and D6.
Oh, D8.
So D8 is your skill, and D6 is your wild die. And whichever of those two is higher.
I got a 6 on the D6.
Then you roll it again.
Then I roll again. Okay, cool. That's another 2.
Okay, so that would be 8, and the other one.
I believe so. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So that would be a success with a raise.
Okay.
You do definitely notice that there's probably maybe, it's sort of difficult to judge in the darkness, but maybe about 200 yards to what would be basically to your left. There seems to be a little bit of a higher rise. It looks like maybe a little hummock.
Okay.
And as you go to move forward, I need you to make an agility test.
Agility. Which is also a D8 and a D6.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, remember your agility is down by 1 die type.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, it's 2 D6s then. So
Okay.
I've got a 5 and a 1. So
Okay. All right. Well, you do have a success. So as you go take a step, you find yourself launched about 5 feet forward.
I'm gonna. Oh, sorry. Go for it.
And of course, as you land, this way it was like you were stepping, but the the force seems to have pushed you a lot further than you were expecting. You do keep your feet though.
Okay. I'm gonna like when I touch down in the place that I've moved to. He's gonna start and be like, oh shit. Like pass the Lewis off to my left hand. I'm just gonna like rub my face and be like, Hawkins, what were we drinking the other day? Was that?
I'm going to make a survival check to see if what we drank could ever cause this.
Okay. Go right ahead.
I don't feel so good.
So,
He's gonna stand there a little like dumbfounded
okay.
until you answer, but
Let's see, that's a D8 and a D6.
Yep.
8 and a 6.
Roll both again.
nice.
5 and a 6
Is that 6 on the 8 or the 6?
on the 6.
Roll it again. As long as you roll the biggest one, you keep rolling.
2.
All right. So that'll
14.
be a total of 14. All right. You do a quick assessment of yourself physically. You seem to be physically okay. You're not experiencing any of the normal symptoms you would think of a hangover, although you do feel to be a bit lightheaded maybe because your equilibrium is definitely off. As you move around, it feels like it's almost like, well, first off, the air you're breathing, is probably higher elevation. You're thinking like in some of the places in New Zealand, in the higher elevations, the mountains there, you've hiked there and such, and this feels similar to that. So you're definitely not down at sea level.
Well, from what I can tell, this isn't a hangover at all.
I feel fine.
Higher elevation. Feel like you're having trouble breathing over there? Fergal, Terrence, sir?
No,
I feel all right.
definitely not up to Dick. And he kind of is walking up to Hawkins and he says, that.
As you go to walk over to him, I mean, it's agility check.
Okay.
Okay.
That is going to be a D6. Is that only one dice or two?
On any kind of a test or a check, you always roll your wild die.
Okay.
So pretty much everything except damage you roll wild die with.
Okay.
So I got one explosion, so I got a total of an 11.
Well, actually, it's each individual die. So you had one at 6. So you roll it twice.
Sorry, 10. Yeah.
Okay, that one to make sure. Okay, so yeah, you find yourself, you go to take a step towards him, and you find yourself next to him. Although probably because you saw him do it before, your mind sort of kicks into combat mode, and you land actually fairly gracefully. But you have literally, with one step, launched yourself about 5 feet.
Oh, wow.
So
He's just looking. Well, he's fine. A bunch of pod snappery as it is. And he's kind of whispering to Hawkins, so what's going on in that fly rink of yours?
I have no clue. I have no clue what's going on here at all.
Are you feeling funny?
Yes. In fact, all I know is this ain't where we were. Is it possible somebody got a hold of us?
did you clap your hands, by the way, just now?
Yes, I did.
It actually hurt.
Because I rubbed my eyes. And
When you clapped your hands, it literally, it was like you slammed your hands together with a terrific amount of force.
all right. I'm going to take a step forward, testing things here.
Agility check.
Nuggets. That's a D4 and a D6 then?
Yep.
What do straight ones mean?
That means that you take a step forward and you launched yourself about 5 feet and wound up on your face. Literally, it was you went to walk and you stumbled to the point and you wound up literally on the ground.
Can I have grabbed him?
Oh, it's happened so quickly.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
if
still
you want to attempt
disoriented.
to, make me an agility check. I will let you make the attempt.
I got a 3.
All right, you wind up throwing yourself about 4 feet to the side into the ground as your momentum of your arm swinging towards him carries you off your feet.
At that point, I'm seeing this happen. I'm like, all right, lads, come on, let's be serious here.
Why
I
don't
kind
you
of roll over on my. Go ahead.
Why don't you try it, you posh boy?
I did. That's why
Yeah,
I'm
come
over
on,
here.
Silver Spoon. He kind of lays back and he just takes a puff on his cigarette and he just looks at the sky and he goes like, "Sir, I ain't no meter, but you get hornswoggled or what?"
Well, when you two are done horsing about, I'm going to have myself a look about. I'm going to try my damnedest with the data that I have currently, and I'm going to make a stealth roll, trying to
Okay.
get myself to the top of this hill.
Okay.
This is
Well,
probably going to be hilariously bad, but that's his intent, is to be
Okay.
quiet and to get up to a vantage point.
okay. So make me an agility check first, and
All right.
then
Oh shit! Oh, I got a 6. All right.
okay.
You want me to roll that one again as well?
Yes. Yeah. If you get a 6, roll it. It's D6. Roll it again.
It's a 6 and a 5.
Okay. So that's an 11. You go to take a step, and once again, it literally shows you about 5 feet,
He's being
And-
gingerly about it, but yeah.
and that's yeah. It was literally just trying to take that gentle step just caused you to just literally rocket forward to the point that you can try to be quiet, but as you're walking, you're basically sort of measuring your steps to be quiet. Seems to be helping you not launch forward into leaps, but more sort of short hops.
Just for experimentation purposes, I'm gonna bring my heels together,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna look at the top of that hill, and I'm gonna try and jump to the top of that hill.
All right, make me a strength test first.
And you said our strength is increased by 1 die type.
By 1 die type, yes.
Oh, okay, that's a 9.
All right. You launch yourself 9 yards into the air.
Whoosh!
Now make me an agility test at -4 to land.
All right. Come on now. Don't break my legs, please. That's a 7 on the die.
Okay. -4.
-4. So
It's
yeah,
a 3.
3. Yep.
You land in a heap. You don't injure yourself, but you've never actually jumped that high before. This is like jumping off the side of a ship. And you come down hard, but not so hard that you actually hurt yourself. You seem to absorb the impact pretty easily, but you crumple to the ground.
So for the sake of cinematics here, you guys will actually see me turn, kind of like take a step, and then same nonsense with as before, and then he'll kind of like get this sly look on his face. He'll go, all right, let's try this, and then I'll jump, land like not so as gracefully as I tried to him, and he'll just crumple, going, oh shit.
I would imagine that Farragle probably leaned over, glide up on his elbows, and is watching this as he's smoking a cigarette, and he's like, "Get a load of this." He goes, "Ha ha ha!" He kind of laughs. "I told you, sir."
Medic side of Hawkins is going to kick in, and I'm going to go try to help him.
We're all right.
We're
all right.
First off, when you laughed, you sort of roll back like a laugh, roll back. Okay, you find yourself flipped over. You literally roll into a full somersault.
And it actually causes him to laugh a little louder.
Yeah. Hawkins, you said you're going to try to go help him instinctively.
Yeah.
Are you going to try to run to him?
Yeah, it's instinctive. Yeah.
All right. So make me a strength test.
Okay. Let's see. That's D10, D6.
Mhm.
That is a 10 and a 3
All right. Roll that 10.
and a 9, so 19.
All right. You go to run and you launch yourself into the air in a shallow arc. You find yourself passing over Terrence and down the other side of the hill. Now make me an agility test to see how you deal with landing.
Oh, no.
That'll get a laugh out of Terrence as he just see pass over like, oh
Yeah.
shit.
A 5 and a 4.
All right. So you successfully land without.
Another 4
Oh, you're rolling a 4.
and a 3.
All right. Nice. You land and actually you're able to maintain your balance and keep your feet. But it probably sort of startled you that you went that far. You actually jumped 19 yards.
Attaboy.
It ain't that hard, Sergeant.
No? All right.
But you still missed him.
Yeah,
and
I'm not over
Furl
there.
can hear you from over there. Yes. Yeah. Now you're almost as far on the other side of the sergeant as you were. Side you were.
I'm just laying on my back, just looking at the beautiful sky going, oh, shit.
Yeah. It is
All right.
gorgeous. And as you're looking, you suddenly see light just burst.
What
It's like
kind of
there
light?
for a moment you saw like a slight pinkening of the horizon, and then all of a sudden, boom! You're in daylight.
Oh, that's
Sun-
going to hurt the corneas.
The sun rose, and here, when the sun rises, because the atmosphere is thinner than back home and shallower than back home, you don't get that like the morning dawn colors and such as much. You just get a little glimmer, and all of a sudden, boom! Daylight. So,
Oh, someone flicked the lights on in the room
Yes.
on Mars. It's like, oh, shit.
and it takes you a bit. You guys are a bit dazzled, and it takes you a bit to for your eyes to adjust, and you can actually really see, of course, with long shadows and such, what's around you. The ground itself is the plant covering around the ground is ochre, which imagine with these cameras, the color of Lynx's back wall.
Hmm.
So it's a lighter. It's not it's a little bit lighter tan, but it has a slight green and yellow into it as well. Beneath it, where your feet have disturbed this turf, is rich blood red sand. It is literally the color of fresh blood, not dried blood. You're on a plain with just this sort of a rolling slow hillocks, and off in the distance you see these mountains. Of course, obviously looking toward the sunrise is difficult because the sun is very, very bright. But if you look towards what you believe to be the back toward the west, you can see the lights falling upon these mountains, because they seem to be maybe not that far away, but they're oddly shaped. They're not what you would expect a mountain range to look like. They're almost like they're individual peaks sort of sitting on the plain.
Sir, is this what happens when they fire the howitzers?
No, not at all.
Are you sure? He's still kind of looking about, and he gets up and he starts walking over to you. I would imagine agility.
Yes.
Oh, he got a 5.
Okay.
So he's kind of probably unsteady, but
Yeah, you're able to keep your feet, but it's like every step seems to take you about 5 or 6 feet. But you're able to actually almost like long jump, skip over to him,
And I look a lot like a dog with socks on.
Probably, yeah.
Shoes.
Yeah.
So you see this
gaining
Irishman
air.
oddly walking towards you.
But yeah, you're able to get pretty close to that actually landing on him and
I'm
keep
just
your feet
laying on
steady.
my back
Although
still.
although you're sort of
I'm
unsteady, of
amused.
course, yeah. Now you can see Hawkins. Hawkins is basically standing probably a good 10 yards away.
Could I actually try to jump, like calculate based on what I know so far? It's probably going to be a smarts roll.
Mhm.
The force I'm going to need to launch myself straight up to do a flip and drop back down towards the group.
Go for it. Make a smarts check.
Because, I've got to
You can try it.
experiment with all this.
You can try it.
9.
All right. Yeah, you're able to. You think you have a calculation based on how far you went, based on the force that you applied to get there, that you might be able to pull this off.
All right, I'll try that then.
Okay. And do me a strength check first. You're going straight up, right?
Yep.
Okay.
13.
All right. You launch yourself 13 yards into the air. So for those who don't know about yards, basically triple 13, and that's what you have in feet. So you're looking at about 39 feet straight up into the air.
This is going to hurt.
Now I need you to
knees.
spirit roll. You make me a spirit roll.
Ooh.
Just kind of standing there just in awe.
Yeah. Basically, are you going to be able to
Hawkins
keep your
always
cool
been
at the
a student.
apex?
Acrobatics?
4. 7 on spirit.
So you're able to keep your cool. You don't panic. So you can make an agility roll to see if you land. You're at a -4 though, because you're not used to landing from this height.
-5.
Okay. In that case, yeah, you literally come down and land flat on your back. You do your flip, but you mistime it. Knock the air out of yourself. You are currently shaken. Yeah.
I'm just going to look over.
He comes down, smacks into the ground, doesn't bounce. Just a puff of dust up from under him. He did not look happy.
Just an exhale of air.
Yeah. So,
I'm still laying on my back. I'm just
Yeah.
laying there going, oh, God.
Fergal,
I'll
since
look over.
Since you're the only person who's currently standing up, make me a notice check, please, sir.
So I got 2 explosions, so a total of 10.
All right. As you're standing there watching this, you see Hawkins go up in the air and come down. You notice beyond Hawkins, maybe a couple of 100 yards away, movement. There's something over there moving. So
Kind of crouch down, and I probably have my rifle shouldered.
Okay.
And I kind of lean over, and I'm talking to Terry, but I make it look nonchalant. There's some movement off on the ridge.
see possibly the base of one of the little ridges over there. Yeah.
I'm going to very gently roll over. So I'm
Okay.
on my stomach prone, and I'm going to
Okay.
bring the Lewis up,
Yeah.
bipod down, and then
Yeah,
Go where?
You find yourself gently rolling, as in flopping. Basically,
And I also, real quick, I look to Hawkins and I put my hand down like this, as with trying to lower. Anyway,
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's fine. So yeah, you Hawkins, you notice him doing the motion, which means get down. What you see is these figures detaching themselves from the shadows of the ridge and seem to be sort of heading your way. Their coloration seems to be similar to the terrain around you, and they're low to the ground. This isn't upright figures. This is something more lower to the ground, maybe local wildlife of some kind, possibly like a dog or a cat or something like that. And there seems to be at least 3 of them.
I'm going to flip the the iron sight up on the Lewis. See
Okay.
if I can actually track what that is.
Okay.
Are we on a defensible ridge at this point, or is it just we're wide open?
You're basically wide open. You're on high ground, but it's more like a hummock.
Is there anywhere we can find a shelter close by?
At the moment, the closest shelter you can see is either towards these figures, or if you were to go back the opposite direction, it looks like it's maybe like a mile off. It's a big open flat area you're in.
So,
What are
all
your
things
orders, sir?
considered, this is about as best as we can get with high ground.
Right, yeah.
Um,
And you're noticing
I'm
these.
going to say hold here. They got to come to us.
You notice the figures basically they disappear for a moment, and then you see them top a small swell. And you can tell the ground basically is just an undulating type plane where you're
Oh,
looking at.
they dipped down into
Yeah.
a small gully.
They
and
dip,
went
they dip down and come up.
hill.
And then
Okay.
as they get a bit closer, it's almost like your eyes are playing tricks on you, because this does not look like any kind of animal you've seen before. Either its legs are moving very, very quickly, or it has more than four. But it's obviously an animal. It looks to have a hide that's almost the same color as the moss. Its face is broad like a bulldog, possibly. All three of them are, and it's sort of difficult to judge distances at the moment because you're not really used to the landmarks and how far things are, and things just don't seem to look right in general. But they seem to be considerably larger than your average bulldog, though. Whatever they are.
Looks like no hound that I'm familiar with. How about you, McGuire?
No, those are
The
maybe
hell?
hellhounds. Hawkins, do you have anything like that in New Zealand?
Well,
You're gonna sit
pretty
up.
no, I ain't sitting up. I'm flopping
Well,
over on my stomach.
Well, from your perspective, you
You're
can't
best
even
where
see
you're
them.
at.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't even see them. Hawkins.
In that case,
I'm
it's,
gonna. What I'll do is I'll describe it to him, so he doesn't
Alright.
really have to get up. So that he
Okay.
can choose to get up if he feels that way.
So,
I'm gonna roll over on my stomach while they're describing it and unsling my rifle.
all right. So you find yourself flopped over, as I said. You start to get a little bit airy as you're trying to roll over. Get your rifle out. So,
The only thing
yeah.
I can think of is some old legends. They're nothing I know of.
Now, do you said before that you not be a bit of a sniper?
Yep.
I'm gonna
You-
point
you
at
may-
his scope and tell
Yeah,
him.
you may actually have a scope if you choose to have that.
Mm-hmm.
So you could possibly crawl up to a little higher vantage point and see if you can get a better eye on them.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and do
Give
that.
us a better look.
Okay. Are you going to belly crawl, or are you going to try to stand up?
Belly crawl. You do
Okay.
not stand up.
All right. So you haven't successfully belly crawl, although you're sort of flopping a little bit as you're doing it. You'll occasionally your elbow will actually launch you into the air just a little bit. You wind up sort of at the top of one of these little rises, and you see this one of these beasts come probably 100 yards away. And through your scope, it looks like nothing you've ever seen before in your life, and just reminds you of some hellish beast. It does not seem to have fur. It seems to be its hide seems to be just very thick. If it has any fur, it's very thin. So it has a very broad mouth that looks oddly almost frog-like. It definitely has at least 6 legs that you can see. And as one of them lets out a odd yip noise, you definitely see large teeth.
I'm gonna report that to my unit.
Okay. So,
I mean, at this point, I'm trying to sight in. I'm laid down and
okay.
sighting in.
Okay. So
Sergeant, should we take a shot?
Not yet. Let's let them pass, huh?
The next thing you know, thought this thing was about 100 yards away. And what seems like in a very, very rapid time, this thing tops a ridge about 50 yards away. And you guys can all see.
That's going to get a wide-eyed look from Terry.
Yeah. It's whatever these things are, they're moving fast. And they seem to be spreading out. If you guys want to make survival checks real quick about that.
Sure. Yeah.
Is it starting to get hot?
It is getting warmer very, very quickly, yes.
I'm starting to unbutton my jacket again.
Yep.
Survival, huh?
I'm going to worry about overheating later and draw my short sword
Okay.
and
Well,
a
you're-
survival roll of d6. Basically, put it next to me.
Oh, you're pulling out your bayonet.
And yeah, sticking it on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Basically a short sword, effectively. Yeah.
Mm,
Okay. So you got a 6 on your survival.
that's a 12 for me total.
All right. So you all know that if these things are acting like anything like hunting animals you've seen before,
Mhm.
they seem to be maybe possibly hunting. Terrence, specifically though, with your high roll, this is you've seen hyenas hunt like this in Africa.
Oh yeah.
Where you'll have one that seems to be coming directly at something, charging it, and then the other two will flank out with the intent of once this one gets this attention, gets close, will probably start threatening threat displays of some type, while the other two try to circle around behind and take something down from behind.
I'm not gonna say anything to my compatriots, but
Mhm.
sighting down my my weapon here, I'm just gonna mutter, "Clever gal."
This thing comes within probably about 20 yards of Hawkins and just stops dead. And it lets out a very horrific roar with its
Get him.
maw wide open. And you see 3 distinct rows of tusk-like teeth in this thing's maw.
Yeah, I did. I was just gonna nudge him with my elbow. Get him.
Yeah. And those of you who have paid attention to the other two literally just rocket past you with the speed of maybe like a you've seen some of the cars and such that they use in the military on a flat area go about this fast, but it's faster than a charging horse.
Ooh.
Well,
So
This is
Would you
enough
like-
to. This is enough to make a stuffed bird laugh.
mhm.
What are we doing, sir?
At this point, would you folks like to begin an initiative?
I would, as I unflick the safety from my Lewis.
what safety?
I'm going to share here. We got ourselves a nice little deck of cards here. We're going to be using. So
Whoa.
we'll use cards for initiative. All right, and remember, you guys each have 3 bennies. Which, if you want to know what a benny, how to use a benny, just ask, and
Okay.
we'll get into that. So first, I'm going to start from my perspective, top to bottom, which would be Terrence first.
Okay.
You have a 10 of spades.
Oh wow.
Fergal, you have an 8 of clubs, 10 of clubs and 8 of clubs. Baldric, you have a 6 of hearts. The opponent has a 5 of spades.
Oh.
So with the 10 of clubs, Terrence acts first. Now
I'm
you
going.
can choose to hold if you want, but you can act now if you'd like.
I'm going to squeeze a controlled burst off into that open maw, as it's the biggest target that I see.
All right, roll me a shooting, sir. So
Uh,
you're firing all 3 rounds, right?
Yes.
3 round burst? Okay. This will actually,
wait,
the way you do it is you roll a shooting.
Before you continue, Keith,
Okay.
you're sharing your screen, and I have my character sheet
Oh,
pulled up.
I'm sorry. I will stop sharing.
Well, here, is there
You
a
can
way-
actually fix that. If you go back into share screen real quick,
do
I
I
can
fix
talk
that, or
you-
does Keith?
you can fix that. I'll talk you guys through how to
Okay.
fix that.
Yeah, do it.
All right.
Go back into
And
share
keep
that
screen.
up.
Shared screen.
Okay, go into view options real quick.
All right.
And hold up. It should be up in the view options. You can basically exit full screen.
Exit. Hey, nice. Okay, perfect.
So-
Thanks.
No problem.
It's just that way that you guys can have that up while I have my character sheet.
All right.
You said shooting. I did shooting, and is
You also roll the wild die with this.
which
Because
is
you are
D6.
because you are firing a 3-round burst.
Yep.
Okay. The way this works is that your difficulty to hit goes up, or actually goes down. Actually, so you'll actually have a better chance of actually hitting something, basically.
Mm.
So your difficulty to hit him is 3.
So I roll a D10 for my shooting,
Mhm.
and then the wild card is the
the
wild card.
D6.
But is it always going to be a D6 in this system?
Yes, it's always be
Okay.
D6.
All right. So that is a 4 on the D6 and a 9 on the D10 there.
All right. So being 3, that means you have 3 plus 4 is 7. So you have 1 raise. What
Okay.
that means now, since you did a 3-round burst, your damage you will base because you got 1 raise means 2 bullets hit.
Okay.
So you roll damage twice on your target.
So that's 2d8, and then obviously another 2d8.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you add them together if you wish. So
That is, oh goodness gracious. All right. It's 24 points of damage total.
all right. Describe to me how this thing looks as these bullets transverse its entire body from front to back.
Yeah, so when that thing comes up on its hill, and I go ahead and I would have nudged Hawkins and told him to get him, but I mean, as he's still trying to get himself settled, I probably hit him and I kind of like screwed up his bead. So I took over and I let loose a burst into that open maw, as it's the largest target I see, and these 3 bullets rip the back of its throat wide open, and we may or may not see daylight through that hole of this beast as it kind of like crumples in a heap.
Well played there. Take yourself additional Benny for that description.
Thanks, man.
Next would be Fergal, the 8.
So would it be considered that I did aim?
Yes, because you've been aiming,
Excellent.
yes.
Excellent. All right. So that is a total of an 8. And so an 8 to hit.
All right, so since you did aim, that would reduce your difficulty by 3 to 1. So your first was 1, then you had 5. So 8 would not be additional enough for quite enough raise. Again, you do have 1 raise. So the way you do this is your damage is your regular damage for your gun, which you still have 2d8, plus 1d6.
Excellent.
For each
Okay.
raise on a shot, on a normal shot, you get an additional d6 damage.
11 points of damage.
All right. You're able to, one of the other ones, you're able to basically, you hit it, and you see it stumble, but it does not stay down. It seems to be, maybe you're pretty sure you hit it dead on, but maybe its hide was thicker than you would think. But it definitely is not dead.
Here, and I say, bollocks!
Hawkins?
Well, my turn to shoot it.
Get him.
So, are you shooting at the same one that Fergal is shooting at, or the other one?
The same one that they've all been shooting at.
Well, the first one died.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
In that case, the first one that was in front of me is dead, right?
yes.
The 2 ran behind us.
Yeah, they one each side, basically trying to look as if they were going to flank around behind you.
All right. And then there's 1 to the left and 1 to the right.
Yes.
I'm going to go for the 1 to the left then on our
Okay.
commander's side.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, mate.
Roll shooting.
Yes.
We got to watch out for each other's backs on this one.
Because you actually have a scope on yours,
Mm-hmm.
Your difficulty is going to be as if you aimed, so a -3 to your difficulty.
So I -3 for my roll, or
No, it's normally when you're shooting, you're always shooting for a difficulty of 4. In this case, you'll be shooting for a difficulty of 1.
okay.
So you're
I
almost
rolled
guaranteed to get a
a
hit.
3 and an 8,
Okay.
16,
Okay.
24,
Okay.
Nice.
25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32,
Okay.
34.
All right. So because that is a 1. Let's see. It goes 5. 5 is a raise. So 5, 9. I'm going to go ahead and say maximum that you can get a raise is +3.
Okay.
So it's going to be a D, whatever your damage is, 2d8 plus 3d6. So
Wow.
roll all that and add it together.
Plus 3d6. Okay.
Yes.
Now I got to go get. Oh, there's my extra dice. Okay.
And just for future reference, this is why you take cover when someone's shooting at you.
Oh my God! Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
All
Damn.
right, give me 1 second to add this all up. Where's my calculator? Sorry for the wait, guys.
You're all right.
Okay.
You're all right. Yeah, Keith, when you said, I mean, you take cover in this system. I was like, oh, it's not that bad. Oh, it's not
23?
that bad.
23? Okay, and tell me how you dispatch this critter.
Well, I was on my stomach. I see one taken down in front of me.
Mhm.
One is being handled to my right, and I see the other one rope around to my commander's side. So I yell out, "No, you don't, you bastard." I spin, aim down it, basically look into its eye with the scope, and blast it.
All right.
Unfortunately, the recoil catches my shoulder a little stronger than I thought, so I jerk back a bit, but that bullet goes straight through it,
Okay.
and it rolls the body a bit.
All
Nice
right.
shot, mate. Nice shot.
Take a penny for that, because of the especially for the description of and the bit of disadvantage you gave yourself because of the being struck on the shoulder more than you're used to. All right. Now their turn. The one remaining struggles to its feet, and seeing that it's outmatched by you guys, just starts taking off and toward the horizon as fast as it can. Not as fast as it was going before, but so you definitely got a piece of it. But definitely moving at a speed that you guys are not used to actually seeing. So,
Want me to try to take it out?
Yeah. Take him out.
I'll try to take it.
you take the time to aim.
Yep.
All right. At that point, he is going to be at extreme long range. So you're going to have a -1 to your shot, whatever you roll.
All right. Let's see, that's going to be shooting is currently at that with a d6. 6 and a 4. 12. 18. 24. 30. Drop the dice on
Oh,
the
wait a minute.
ground, but I'll take the 2.
I thought your shooting die was just a D8.
It is. Do you not add the d6 for wild card?
Oh, the wild die did at that time. Okay, gotcha. Okay, I was just wondering. I'll make sure.
Yeah, the wild die's blowing up this time.
Yeah, I didn't want you to cheat yourself. That's why I was asking.
And the die fell on the ground, but I'll take the 2, so 32.
Okay. All right. So yeah, you fire the shot, and as you guys hear the shot come back echoing from the hills all around you, you see it drop.
There's a lad. I'll pat him on the shoulder. And haul
Ow,
myself to my
ow,
feet.
ow.
Oh.
Yeah, it definitely
right.
felt like a little more than just a gentle pat.
It's more like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
In fact, you may have actually launched yourself into the air just a bit. So, go ahead and make me notice rolls as well, real quick. another one real quick.
Oh. All right.
Straight ones.
Okay.
Hang on.
You're still reveling in your kill.
That's a 22 for notice total.
Okay. And all right, I see Fergal has a 4 there.
Hope I did that right.
You notice with that very, very high roll on that ridge that is where these things had come from, you see a figure standing there. It's hard to make out exactly. This one's definitely upright in the way of a person, and it seems to be. Let me see here. And it seems to be possibly watching you, maybe looking at you from a possibly possibly observing what these beasts were doing, and it's there for maybe just a moment or two after that last shot rings out and echoes off the deal, and it seems to just disappear behind the ridge as if it turned and walked away.
I apologize for my wording here, but those of us who are familiar with John Carter of Mars, Keith, can I tell what color it is from this range?
It's hard exactly to tell, but it must have been wearing something green,
Okay.
possibly green clothing.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna, just as it's about to disappear, I'm gonna nudge Fergal, and then I'm gonna point 2 fingers down that way.
Is there more of them?
I just see the one.
Should I re-roll notice or? Got a 5 that time. Talking to mute, Keith.
Yeah, you're muted, Keith.
Sorry. You don't notice anything up there. Apparently, if there was something there before, you just missed it. And poor Baldric is still cleaning the lens of his scope there. Must have got a little bit of something on it. So
I'm currently in a crouched position. I'm gonna stand slowly. Gonna keep my eye in that direction, but
We should get some shade, sir.
yeah,
it's definitely getting warm.
I'm gonna be looking around for that. I'm like unbuttoning my battle dress and kind of like loosening up the webbing so the coat can actually be open while I'm looking for a bit of shade. Kind of like nonchalantly take like 3-4 steps forward, which is probably about 25 feet.
Well, yeah, and an agility check because you're still not used to the.
How long have we been here?
Maybe an hour at most.
I think that's long enough for me to like kind of go, all right, just baby steps here. I should be fine.
Okay. Yeah, you literally are shuffling your feet.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It kind of looks like I would be putzing around, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, I'm having a stroll.
Yeah.
Measuring distance with your feet.
Yeah. Just like.
Yeah, you're starting to sort of generally just sort of go, basically.
Yeah, I'll probably walk till about the incline of this hill. Actually, decline of this hill to actually go down.
Okay.
Do I see anything that
Actually,
resembles shade, or
you do see off towards the toward that ridge? There seems to be structures or maybe even trees. Although it's hard to call these things trees, not like any kind of tree you've seen. But there's a little cluster of them that looks like it sort of comes out from the ridgeline itself.
I'm going to walk to that adjacent hill where that first hyena that I killed was. Just kind of like
Okay.
moseying my way on out there.
Okay. Doesn't take you very long.
I'm
when
kind
you-
of like over my shoulder. Like, keep an eye out, lads.
Okay.
Look, I'm gonna like get up there and see this ugly
Okay.
thing down there.
This thing is probably the size of an African lion,
Okay.
which you
Nice.
probably have seen several. It has 6 legs.
Okay.
Its mouth, which is now gaping open with a very long tongue lolling out on the ground, looks like it could probably swallow a man whole if it really wanted to. The teeth are very tusk-like teeth, remind you of nothing less than a boar, as if this thing had a mouthful of boar-like tusks.
I'm gonna look down and just kind of mutter under my breath. Sorry, old
You
boy.
also notice this thing has some kind of leather harness on it.
I'm gonna take a knee and actually like put my hand under this harness and like feel it up, kind of like tug on it a bit.
It's you move the body fairly easily. Actually, it sort of jumps up in your hand. as you pull on it.
Remembering my strength, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
more gentle
Okay.
with it, like so
Okay.
like manhandling this thing.
Yeah, the leather harness. The leather doesn't feel like regular cow leather. It has an odd texture to it, but it's sort of crudely made. It's not really. The edges are rough cut and not really polished that much. As if this is a very utility style harness.
I'm gonna look for something. Well, like my playing my character, he's gonna be looking for something that would resemble like a dog tag for like a family dog.
The only thing you can really
Like-
tell
Yeah.
is up on the back of this harness, there is like a little metal plate that has a ring mounted to it, as if for this thing to be tied to. And it has some odd writing on this metal.
I'm gonna pry that off of there.
Okay.
I'm gonna take my trench knife off, and I'll just like cut
Okay.
it, pry it off of there.
Yeah. The leather it resists your knife more than you expect leather to. It's actually a very tough material. Whatever it takes you a moment to actually saw this thing off. Meanwhile, Fergal and Baldric, make me notice checks, please.
All right.
As if I can be I suppose the left-hand side of my character's brain, he thinks he killed somebody's hunting dog, or
Yeah.
what would be close to somebody's hunting dog. So he's kind of got this really dour, like, oh shit, how would I feel if someone killed my
Okay.
fucking dog?
All right. So as he's doing this, Baldric, you notice there's once again movement on that ridge. There's a place where it basically sort of slopes down on basically from your perspective to the left, beyond where you see these tree-like structures or whatever the heck they are. And there seems to be a group or a column maybe of mounted riders coming down from that ridge. And that ridge seems to be a lot closer than you actually think it is. Your eyes must be playing tricks on you, because they're much closer than you thought they were based on how tall they are.
All right. That's
And
not a good
definitely
thing.
wearing green.
I'm gonna nudge Fergal, and then I'm gonna call out in German, "Guten Tag."
All right.
I don't think they want to. I don't know what you just said, but I don't think they want to have a chat. And he begins practicing the walking thing. And I think we need to retreat, sir.
I'm gonna look up
You see
behind me.
right. You see riders. There's probably about 20 of them coming, and they're getting closer than they're getting very close based on how tall they are. And your eyes there must be something wrong with your eyes,
Mhm.
because these things aren't just wearing green; they seem to be green. Each of the riders seems to be carrying a long lance that is very long. The odd thing is that it looks like a few of them in the front might also be carrying rifles, in the style of rifled cavalry, but they're also holding lances too. It doesn't make sense. What they're doing. It just so your eyes, whatever these things are, is confusing you. But as they start riding closer, first off, the things they're riding look to be maybe related to things you just killed, but larger. Their mouths aren't as large. They definitely have the multiple legs, and they're a similar color. These beings don't seem to be riding any kind of saddle that you can tell. They seem to be just bareback, and they're based on this. If the hills between you and them are similar to what you're on, these things are a lot larger than you're used to. Your mind immediately goes to the idea of giant.
I'm gonna stuff that little metal plate that I've just harvested from this this thing into one of my pockets of my trousers, and
Jesus, Mary and Joseph, sir, what's your command? And he's starting to edge, like, sir. Don't be pigeon-livered now.
he's a little kind of stunned by the image of this, and I gun him down, lads. I'm gonna haul ass back to them, because it's kind of like our battle stand at the top of that hill.
Definitely going to cause you to make an agility check.
Okay, that's fine.
You go to haul ass. So
I'm gonna say, Hawkins, or sorry, Sergeant, not the best idea. Run for the hills.
We are on a hill.
Mountains.
All right, fine. Run.
Why'd you get on your agility check there?
That is it's like a 13. I think I got. Yep.
You're able to actually make it from the hill you're on to the hill that they're on with one leap.
Good.
So
starting to get used to this.
Do you think we can win against these things with? Do you think we can win? They're big. They're very big.
I just kind of look down at the nearly full magazine in my my machine gun, and I'll just kind of look at my companions
with that. As you're looking down, you hear a report of a firearm.
Nope, we're out. We dip out. We're gone. If there are bushes, there is a hole in those bushes.
It doesn't sound like a regular. Doesn't sound like a regular gun though. It sounds odd.
That's fine.
And as you guys leap off, I'm going to go ahead and say that you guys are well enough adjusted that you're not having to do an agility check for this.
So we dip out.
I would like to stop to grab the nearest dog.
Okay. Well, there's the only dogs you have is one's toward them, and as you said, it was probably the one that you dropped off in the distance. If you wanted to head that way. As you guys go to launch yourself off and start literally bounding from hillock to hillock, up into the distance, if you happen to look back at these fellows, you see them stop about where the dog was that was killed.
The one that I slew?
Yes,
or
the one that you slew.
Okay.
And they just sort of watch you jump off into the distance. And you guys probably make it to this ridge, which is a cliff, basically. The cliff is probably, it looks to be probably 150 feet tall.
Oh.
And its surface is pocked and weathered, but it would not, if it wasn't so large, you would say this was a man-made wall. So that's it's about 150 feet tall, and there's really no way up it.
Could we, basic training, we learned how to launch each other up a wall like that.
Well, yeah,
Take
but-
a running leap using strength and throw the other up.
well, that might get one of you pretty high, but that height is
For what
Well,
we know now, none
yeah.
of us can make that leap.
yeah. You might be able to actually, if you were to rig up some kind of a climbing gear, you might be able to scale it.
We have no
But
time.
you're not making it up for
Just
that
running.
that quickly. So
Now we're
do,
fucking sitting ducks.
so do you guys run along the wall or?
Okay, so when we came here, we were on kind of a wide open loping plain.
Yes.
And then we moved to a slightly higher hill from what
Mhm.
I was envisioning up
Yes.
to our left. Looking out over this plain, we had 3 targets, which we
Yes.
killed throughout this range.
Mhm.
And this group of riders came off from, I'm assuming, an opening in this valley. Are you
Yes.
saying that this basin is you're saying that we're boxed in?
It seems to, as you look around, you can see that basically this would be basically towards the sunrise, toward the east. It seems like this wall may keep going for a very long distance, but you don't really see any obstruction. At least you could probably run along this thing, not run anything for quite some time. The majority of it is actually back to your east, right back to your west, and then you can see something basically off to what you think might be your south. You think maybe that looks like maybe a parallel wall of this, at least, or mountains of some type. But it's sort of hard to wrap your brain around it. Of course, then now once you realize the size of these things that you saw coming towards you, which are that direction, these huge mountains might actually be buildings.
Is there it's like a group of crags that are possibly opposite to these buildings that I'm seeing? Opposite them, or
there may be breaks on that direction.
I am going in that
whatever's-
direction then.
So you run that way?
I am pulling the lads in that direction.
All right. So you guys find yourself bounding back towards those crags, getting closer and closer to them. And you notice that you're not being pursued by the entire force. There's actually 2. And they don't seem to be trying to close on you. It's as if they're like just watching where you go.
Was I able to pick up that dog?
Yeah, it is slowing you down though. Because it is heavy.
Don't
It's
care.
heavy.
It's the size of a lion. That's a
Yeah.
9-foot
big.
long animal.
Don't
So-
care.
So in that case, you find yourself lagging behind the other 2. So,
Got my reasons.
okay.
Oh,
All right.
Feargal's actually gonna lag back behind Hawkins then
Mhm.
and
Okay.
cover.
Mhm.
I mean, how close are they getting?
They're probably within about 100 yards behind you, and you can, as you glance over your shoulder, you can see that they seem to be sort of maintaining that distance. You see one of them level his gun, and he waits and he fires his shot at Hawkins, literally just as Hawkins leaps, and it lands just below his feet.
As soon as I hear the report of that rifle, I'm going to stop on a nearby hillside.
Okay.
I'm not going to go prone, but I'll
Yeah.
take a knee,
Okay.
level off in that direction, and I'm going to return fire. Probably not meaning to kill them, just
Okay.
warning shot for now.
Okay. And Fergal, you notice when you land next to where this shot hit the ground, there's a head-sized crater in the ground where this thing hit. So this isn't just a regular bullet. It looks like they may have maybe explosive rounds or very large rounds, maybe like small artillery.
So as he lands and he sees that and he looks up to see Sergeant taking a shot, I'm going to wheel around in, and I'm not going to shoot to maim. I'm shooting to kill because I'm getting the impression that we're firing to kill.
Okay.
So
All right.
I'm going to take the shot as well.
Is this new initiative or?
I'm going to go ahead and let you guys make your shots because they're not, well, you'll find out here shortly.
Okay. Dave, you go first.
So I got a total of a 9.
All right. You hit one of them. So roll me some damage, please, sir.
$28 points of damage because it exploded.
All right. You hit this guy. And tell me how his body reacts as you blow him off of his mount.
So it was a pretty good shot. He felt pretty confident about it, even though he didn't take time to aim. So Fergal just kind of lined up and he let out his breath as he pulled the trigger. And he sees the shot report, or hears the shot report, and sees the explosion. And there's this spray of mist. What color is it?
It is actually the mist you see spraying off of this thing has a bluish tinge to it.
Okay. So he hits the guy probably where he would think is right above the heart. So is close to center mass. And as he launches back, you just see this mist go flying off of it as it kind of rolls back on the back of this mount and just sort of slides off unceremoniously.
All right. The mount actually stops almost immediately as soon as its rider stops, and so does the other rider. Terrence, you gonna take a shot too, or?
I got an 11.
Okay, that'll hit.
We'll just say I kind of like tried to wing the previous rider, like
Okay. So you basically you're trying to shoot it. Okay. You see, so the other one, you actually hear the bee buzz of the shots whiz by, whiz close by you there, Fergal, as Terrence opens up and he doesn't seem to actually hit anything, because that wasn't what he was actually aiming at. And this figure staring at you, you see its eyes. Its eyes are forward and sort of bulging. Skin is definitely a deep shade of green, and it has, of all things, 4 arms. It has a rifle in one arm that looks like it might be 7 feet long, and you're pretty sure if, based on you've seen bullets hit individuals before and the kind of size of spray it knocks off of them, that spray seems pitifully small to you. Almost half the size of what you would expect it to look like, which tells you that these things might be as big as 10 feet tall. This thing looks at you and it takes the gun and slides it into a holster on the side of his mount. And it does something with those hands because on that one side to you, and then turns and rides away, just leaving its companion there.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
You said he does something with his hands. His
Yes.
primary hands or his secondary hands?
The two hands on the one side, both of them. The one on top and the one on bottom on that one side. He does some kind of a motion with those.
What does he do?
The primary hand touches his head as the secondary touches his chest, and then he brings the hand down over the lower hand onto his chest. It looks almost like a salute of some type.
I'm gonna stand, and I mean, as he's wheeling his mount off, I'm gonna yell. Of course, he's not gonna fucking understand me. I'm gonna yell. That's about enough from you, mate.
Okay.
And I'm gonna walk down this hill, not unthreateningly. But I'm gonna make it look like body language that I mean business, and
Okay.
he and I are going to have words.
Okay. Well, he sees you two and sort of nods in your direction, and he basically gives a little chuck to his mount, and they take off. So you can
Away.
see yes, you can see the rest of them of these beings back toward where they were at before.
Mhm.
They're actually all clustered on top of one of the higher hummocks, maybe close to where you guys were before, just watching the whole situation.
I'm going to walk up to that fallen rider then. I'm going to
Okay,
stand over him.
he is definitely at least 10 feet tall. He is dead. His blue blood is staining the ground around him. The mount at your approach just acknowledges your presence, but that's it. It starts actually cropping at some of the moss and such around the area, and actually licking the blood up.
Just for the sake of player knowledge, Keith, is this a thoat?
Yes.
Okay.
So this figure is dressed as, doesn't have a lot of clothes on. It's almost like a short loincloth, but it has almost armor-like body or pieces of leather on its body. The only piece of metal you actually see is actually around the chest area. Looks like it may actually cover the vital organs. In fact, you see a hole in the corner of one where Fergal's shot went. It has what to it would probably be a long knife in a belt scabbard.
Okay.
You would probably be, a good sized chopper. The lance that lays near it is about 30 feet long. It's a massive piece of the material is not wood. The material itself is not wood. It's some kind of metal.
I just look at the length of this thing.
Yeah, and the rifle that's in the holster next to this, the rifle that's laying on the ground next to this thing is about 8 feet long itself, and the barrel, looking at it, is probably about an 80 caliber.
I'm just gonna chuckle at that. Like,
yeah.
wow.
If this thing had actually hit one of you guys, it probably would have torn you to pieces.
Yeah, I'm taking mental note of that. I'm gonna look up at this group of riders. They're just observing us for now. Is that?
They seem to be, yeah. The one rider you see makes his way back over to them.
I'm keeping in my both eyes on those people.
Okay, and he stops a distance away from them, and they seem to have some kind of discussion. You can hear a few noises echoing across the plain from you.
Yeah, they're well out of earshot.
And one of them points back towards you, or towards your group, and then points to the sky. And the other one, you actually see him shake his head, and he points to the north, and seems to be saying something.
And I would imagine Terrence doesn't see this, but I'm going to point to him and then grab my crotch and shake it at him.
Okay.
Can
and
I
then hold up my
can
hand
I see that out of the corner of my eye?
Yeah, I'm sure you see him do some kind of a gesture. So.
I'm gonna look at Fergal and I'm gonna smile. I'm gonna be like, ah.
Maybe notice
fucking Fomorian, sir.
Hey. There's gonna be this kind of look on his face like, I think you're right. Kind of remembering back when his granddad used to tell him stories about folklore, fucking Fomorians, and I'm like,
Fomorians, giants, yeah.
Fergal, I've never been to Ireland, but I'm told that the Emerald Island is not fucking red, mate. Right?
No, sir.
Okay, good.
Hey, Sergeant, I think you got a new horse.
Well.
Okay. You notice something, Hawkins. A noise. While they're talking and gesturing and all this, you hear it. It's a weird hum. It seems to be coming from the direction of that wall that you guys left.
Mm-hmm.
And you see something metallic glinting, the sun glinting off of, just beyond that wall.
Okay.
I'm gonna yell out, the only thing I can think of that is metallic is gun and dive to the side.
Okay. You dive a good distance, and you see rising above this wall something you have trouble describing. It looks like nothing less than like some kind of giant metallic bird. Its wings literally glowing in the sunlight, reflecting different colors. And it takes you a moment, but underslung under these massive wings is maybe like a superstructure or a some kind of a gondola, maybe. And you see the puff of smoke and a bright flash, a bluish flash, and then the hill that these riders are standing on just erupts into a big spray of explosion as you hear the report after that. So whatever this fired moved faster than the speed of sound. So you see several of those figures on the ground struggling, and then you see two of them riding as obscured by the dust and dirt. Yeah, something like that. What Terrence has shown there, something similar to that.
Is it bigger or smaller than this thing?
It's bigger.
Oh, that's
really?
Yes.
Oh my God. Shit. Okay. Separating player and character knowledge here. I'll shut up.
This airship moves gracefully, if that's what it is, because it's the only thing you think of that would have been with an artillery. It moves gracefully over the wall and moves towards that area, and you see it fire one more shot off at the fleeing two that falls just short of it, as if it's more of a hurry the hell up and get away.
Terry is not a religious man. He's not. But he crosses himself and he says, Christ above us, as this thing comes out. And I'm gonna look to Hawkins and I'm gonna say, Sniper, have a look at what's on that thing and tell me what they are. And I'm gonna point at it and I'm gonna take a knee. I'm going to try and make myself as small a target on the ground as possible, and I'm going to kind of train a sight on. They're out of range. He knows that they're way out of range, but
yeah,
he's going to do his best.
Okay. So this thing, as I said, it wheels over that hill there. This thing is probably the size. You guys have seen battleships because you've actually been on a ship that was escorted by some. This thing is at least the size of a British battleship in the sky.
Terry has seen blimps and zeppelins used in France. Is this bigger than one of these?
It is about the same size as some of the larger dirigibles.
Okay. My character, he's familiar with what they are, but he's just assuming it's something similar. I had no idea how the hell it works.
Yeah, you don't see the gas bags you would require for a dirigible. What you do see is there are like spherical cells every so often along the sides of this thing.
Okay.
And these wings are like giant feathers sticking out of the top of this thing, are looking at glass.
Okay.
And it seems like each one of the veins of the feather looks to be a different color, reflecting a different color of light.
Sorry.
Good.
Sorry.
As Hawkins is looking through his scope at this thing, you see figures. The decks of this ship is all you can say is look to be open.
Mm-hmm.
Along the side, you see what can only be gun emplacements. Look to be about a dozen or so. These figures look human. They don't look like this green monstrosity on the ground.
Yeah,
they look very human. they seem to be turning
We gotta do it this weekend.
as if to line the guns up. Just 1 second here. What do you guys do for that reaction? Then?
I am currently hiding behind the lion dog, which the whole reason I brought it along, as you guys probably know, is experimentation / cover / armor / food, aka it's a toy / helpful to all of us.
Fergal just thinks that it's food.
So,
It's a water source, but I'm hiding behind this thing and I yell out humans.
so
What
So-
color are they? What do they look like?
it's hard. It was hard to tell the color looking through them. They all seem to be wearing some kind of archaic armor and have helmets and such. So you really
can't see skin color.
Not really. Not really from what he was seeing.
What I
I couldn't tell if it was skin, or clothing.
my reaction, we all carry a flag on us of some kind, or at least
Yeah, generally, you guys will carry a Union Jack.
I pull out a
Oh.
Union Jack and just start holding it up.
Okay. So, anybody else doing anything?
After I say humans, I literally just
Hawkins,
Fergal's
put that
kind of
away.
freaking out at the moment. He's actually he's slung his, and he's kind of sat down, and he's just like, he's not sure what to do at this point because his world's fallen apart, and this is too much. At the moment, it's just too much for him, and he's just sitting there like, and he starts praying.
Okay.
I'm gonna yell at Hawkins to put the flag away because we don't fucking know if those are Huns or not. Put the Union Jack away.
Well, you do know that
Fucking
most dredgeables that have been deployed during the war have been deployed by Germany.
Yeah.
So they've been used to not to great effect because
I would have known that.
yeah.
True.
the British you could also react that way too because it's a very odd situation. But most of the ones that have been deployed have been shot down fairly easily by British flyers.
Right.
So and you know that they did have a few of them in the area where you guys were deployed earlier. But this thing seems that you see something as are you first off, are you going to comply with the order of your sergeant?
Oh yes.
Okay.
I'm assuming as this is happening, this airship is moving towards us, over this plane, correct?
It's moving out over the plain, sort of very majestically and not very fast.
That's fine. That doesn't matter.
You do see something detached from the top. It seems to rise up and turns and starts moving fairly rapidly toward you guys.
What I want to know is, and mind you, this is player and character knowledge here, does this airship have any banners on it, which normally it would? And
It
I want
does.
to know what color its heraldry is.
Its heraldry is yellow.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
Yep.
not. Oh, that's lovely. Okay.
Your player knowledge is not as useful here yet.
That's totally fine. I'm keeping it separate here. As soon as that object is moving for us, I'm basically going to have the guy. Oh fuck. Here, let me just get you I'm gonna move you out of the way here. And my webcam turn around. Okay. Basically going to have the guys give them the squad hand gesture of just get down and wait.
Okay. Okay.
There, just let them come to us for now. We don't know anything. The best they can give us is information.
Get the rifle ready then.
Yeah, so that yellow banner does not have any known nation's flag upon it or any kind of standard you're familiar with.
Okay.
It does have a standard, but it doesn't look like anything that you can really relate to.
My character wants to know what design is on this standard.
It's got some. the design itself looks like, and it's like several different things together.
Symbols, animals.
It could be symbols. It could be writing. It's the closest thing you've seen is you've seen some of the standards that some of the sheiks carry that have the Islamic writing upon it. Usually, theirs is it's some kind of a prayer or a psalm from one of their book of Islam.
You almost said Mormon.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry, but it's
sorry. Back in character. Sorry.
but anyway, it could be something similar to that, but it doesn't look like that. It's sharper. It could be stylized. It could be stylized symbology or whatever.
As soon as it is obvious that they have seen us, like they passed over us, they wheel around, they go to land, do whatever.
Yeah.
Then I will wave.
Yeah. The smaller airship that attacks from the larger one comes your way and it gets close to you. It's the size of like one of the launches that you've seen deployed on like amphibious landings and such. It's like a small troop carrier, maybe.
Okay, all right.
It lands probably a good 60 yards away from you. The sides are open, but it has a guardrail, and you see probably a dozen what you can only think is soldiers inside this thing. It lands, a gangway falls down, these soldiers deploy out in fairly good order. Their armor is...
Real quick, you said that it looks about this. We have seen monstrosities, and maybe in pictures that are this size. Okay.
Yeah.
So actually, Fergal starts feeling that start coming back into focus. At least he's starting to visualize that and calm down a little bit. So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
It's okay.
I'm also going to try to keep the group together because I'm probably noticing there's a little bit of distress going on. This is all a stressful situation.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I'm a linguist. I have quite a few languages under my belt, polyglot as you would call it. In Irish or Gaelic as you would call it.
Yep.
Well, this is going to be a fun one, ain't it, Fergal?
Yeah.
I have not spoken Gaelic Irish before.
So, Fergal, do you speak Gaelic? That's the question.
I can carry a conversation in it. It's not perfect, but he just looks over at Hawkins and he's like kind of confused for a minute, and he just says, I'm about to, it's time to crack on.
So I
don't know what else to do.
These soldiers deploy very smartly. They're all carrying rifles. They have what looks to be possibly swords slung at their hips, and their armor it's reminiscent of images you've maybe seen of what you think a Roman gladiator would wear, maybe, or like even some of the stuff you've seen in the museums in Cairo. Of what the battle wear of the Egyptians even possibly could have been. Matter of fact, the symbology on these things, it actually is, it's suggestive of Egyptian-like aesthetic, but it is definitely not Egyptian itself. One fellow after these troops deploy, it's obvious that they're deploying a defensive stance with their vision upon the three of you. One fellow walks off this thing that looks like he may be an officer. He's wearing this armor with a long cape of yellow flying from his back, and he has a crest upon his helmet.
I'm going to stand, and I'll call for my squad, really. I'll be dug out.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
And I'll actually go to, I'll start walking towards him. Like, I mean, he's clearly the highest ranking here, and I'm the highest ranking over here. So a good 15 feet, comfortable speaking distance between the two of us.
As you start walking his way, you do notice that these soldiers are training their weapons upon you. Although they don't seem to be, well, first off, are you carrying your gun in your hands?
It's obviously pointed down, like I'm a comfortable rifle stance, and I mean, once I see them do that, I'll pass the Lewis off to my left hand, so I'll actually be holding it by the front grip here, and I'll just slowly walk forward, and then I'll just lower it down again.
Okay. You see as you move the gun, you see the ones on the perimeter actually move their aim towards you. And you see this officer raise his hand, and he says something. You obviously can't understand the language, but it's a very short, one-word order. And with that, they go back to basically watching the perimeter. He stops. He's not carrying any kind of a weapon in his hands. He does have possibly a revolver of some type on his right hip, and he has a sword scabbarded across his back along the belt line, so it can be easily drawn by the right hand as well.
Okay.
And he is about your size. He's not a giant like these green creatures were.
What color is his skin?
The skin you can see under it definitely has a reddish tint to it.
As soon as I get to that 15, 20 foot mark, I'm going to stop, assuming he stops.
Yes, he stops.
As soon as we stop, I will shoulder the rifle on its, I'm assuming it came with a sling.
Generally, they don't have a sling. You have to actually set it down.
All right,
as
then
a handle.
I'll set it down and just keep my hand on the barrel, and I'll.
Okay.
Morning, sir.
Okay. He looks at you, and he actually throws an American style salute back at you.
Cock my eyebrow, and I'll be like, Jim, no.
He looks at you, and at first he says a couple of words that don't make any sense to you.
Can I make a smarts test to be like, can I get his drift like he's green?
Yeah. And Hawkins, do a linguistics test.
I was about to ask if I could.
Yeah.
That would be under smarts, right?
Yes.
And I'm just going to walk up, since he called us forward, I'm going to walk up and just take the, was there reins on the mount?
No, there weren't. There was no saddle, no reins on the mount at all.
Does it have a mane of some sort?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm going to sort of gently take it by the mane and start leading it.
Okay.
Or try to.
22 on my smarts.
You're going to have to reach way up to get that mane. This thing's probably 12 feet at the shoulder. It's big. It's big.
Well, I walk by and think better of it then, and sort of walk up behind Sergeant Terry, and I shoulder my weapon when he puts it in.
Okay.
But I come up behind him.
I'm gonna stay in hiding, but a linguistics check of 17.
Okay. The words he's speaking is, you've never heard a language like it. The closest that you've heard is at one time in the markets in Cairo, there was an old man who he was mad, but the local people around the area would bring in food and stuff like that, and there was a young boy who was tasked to write down what he said. And this young boy said that sometimes he would say things in a language that had died before the pyramids were raised. That's what the old man had always said. And you heard him mutter a few words like that, and it sounds somewhat like that. Just a little bit. But as if maybe those languages were at some point had a similar source, maybe. Almost like the same family. Sort of like German and English have the same basic root. And he says that, and of course you don't know what he said, but it's almost like he's like as if he's asking a question.
With a 22 for my smarts, Keith.
Yeah, he seems like he's asking a question of you.
As soon as he takes away his salute, I'll straighten up and I will say, I'll kind of like touch my chest, and I'll say, Sergeant Terrence Hawthorne, His Majesty's North African Rifles, sir.
Okay. He looks at you and he seems to he gets a look at his face as if he's processing something. He sort of nods, and he taps his chest.
I'll
And
nod.
where do I have him at? Damn it. Where do I have him at?
Kaor and well met.
Basically, yeah. You do hear the word Kaor.
I will actually,
Um,
I will assume, my character will assume that's hello, and I'll say it back
Okay.
with obviously good morning.
He taps his own chest and says, Gress Vaughn.
Nod.
And something else along with that as well.
Or like a string of whatever the hell he is.
And he points at you, and he says a word that all three of you recognize immediately as English. And he says it in a questioning tone. He points at you and says, Virginia?
I'll smile and be, nah, England.
Yeah, I had her once. I kind of say that to Terry.
Shut up, McGuire. Just like elbow him.
From
Where the hell are
behind the lion. What's that?
I'll over my shoulder and like, Hawkins, get over here. He means Americans.
The traitors?
Get your cunting ass over here, lad. Come on. Where you get just our...
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Coming, sir.
So he looks at you and he points at your weapon that you're holding next to you.
Me,
He motions.
specifically.
Yeah, well, actually, you, and he sort of generally points at that and sort of generally points at all of you,
Us.
and he points at the ground.
No.
I'm just gonna like look down at my Lewis and look back up at him and be like, I'll kind of give him a look that says, "Come on, mate. Come on." That's all I'll say. Like,
Yeah.
And I'm gonna posture next to Terry because I've been in street fights before.
Yep.
So
Um,
yeah, I'm gonna be looking like I'm mean, even though I'm got a little bit of acne on there.
I'm going to make a strength check to hold up that dog line with one hand and just like
Okay.
point at it.
Yeah. He sees these things. He sees you hold the dog up, and he just holds his hand out, gesturing towards his dozen soldiers with rifles trained upon you. The motions at your gun and the motions toward the ground.
Hawkins, do what the man says, and I'll just.
Yeah.
I will slowly and very fucking begrudgingly put the machine gun down.
Okay. He looks to the other two. You
Come
guys
on.
still holding your rifles?
I've never. Mine's slung, so I'm like,
Okay.
what rifle? I'm holding the lion. So I put the lion
Well,
down.
Okay. Well, how about you, Fergal?
I'm going to disconnect the bayonet because it was still connected, and I'm going to shove it in my boot.
Okay.
And then I'm going to step forward and pick up Sergeant Terry's gun and kind of lean the two together.
Okay.
Is that,
So
Yeah.
all right. Thanks, man.
and then I'm just going to lean back and sort of posture, but I'm going to hold my hand next to my trench knife.
Okay. He looks at Hawkins and sort of tilts his head a little bit, points at your gun, and points at the other two guns.
Come on now. Don't be an idiot.
Yes, sir. Grudgingly, very begrudgingly, staring it in the eyes. You know,
Don't.
I made a really good shot the other day. Unhooks the bayonet, puts it in my boot.
Well, you're saying
Shoves-
you have to go into scabbard because it's 20
Shoves in
freaking inches
scabbard.
long.
Shoves the butt into the earth to make it stand straight up.
Okay. Oh, it sticks.
You're not that far away.
Okay. You see that he looks at you and sees that look in your eye. He sort of smiles, and he says a string of words that you can't understand. And then he motions back toward the airship, and you see another soldier come out carrying what looks like it might be maybe a like a water jug.
Got skin of some kind, yeah.
Yeah, some kind of it's a jug. It's actually not a skin. It's actually like a jug of some type, made of some kind of harder material.
Okay.
And he motions to this person to come up and actually approach you. And this figure comes walking forward with someone wearing armor. When this person gets closer, you realize this is a female. It takes a moment because the armor obscures most of the anatomy, but the walk, seeing that you guys have been deployed for quite some time, actually does draw the eye. It puts this container down in front of you guys about 5 feet away, and then steps back next to the officer, and he motions to it, and he motions a drinking motion.
I'll take a step.
So actually, I would imagine that Fergal looks to Hawkins, and then he looks at Terry, and then he shakes his head, realizing that he's the lowest rank.
Not before I test this, boys.
Okay.
Yeah, let me.
Fergal openly allows you to go first. He was expecting to be like the squire in this instance that has to take the first drink.
No, I'm gonna walk up to it, sniff it.
Okay.
What does it smell like?
It's not water. It's got some kind of a scent to it, that maybe a fruit undertone to it, possibly a wine, maybe.
I'm gonna poke it quickly.
It's got the top actually has it doesn't take very long for you to figure out. It has kind of a latching top, and it has basically like a dipper that you can pull up out of it that actually has like a little like a dipper of water type situation. The liquid itself is a light purple. It's almost it's not as dark as wine, but it's almost like water had been colored purple.
I'll
Hey,
just regard Hawkins and be like, "Come on, mate. If they wanted to kill us, they would have gotten us down already."
True, and
As you're looking, the officer walks forward, holds his hand out.
pour a little bit into it.
Okay, he pours it into his mouth and nods toward it.
All right.
I'll take up and I'll walk up, take the ladle. I'll have a sip.
By all means, first, sir.
Okay.
Shut up.
It has
I'll
a
show you
very
myself.
It has a very fruity taste with a slight vanilla undertone. It's actually very pleasant. So it has the scent is maybe lavender. So
I'll just kind of say, "Oh, it's actually rather refreshing."
and you realize exactly how hot it is out here and how much sweat you have poured out of your body over the past hour or so of running for your life.
As that wave kind of like washes
Yeah.
over, I'd be like, "Damn, that."
Yeah.
Like I'll have another one actually, to be
Okay.
perfectly honest,
Okay.
and then I'll hand it off.
Okay.
The moment he's done drinking, I'm gonna quickly use my smarts and knowledge anatomy to make sure nothing's changing and he's, not secretly poisoned.
He seems okay. He seems actually a little more refreshed, but he's definitely almost to the point of exhaustion at this point. All of you are.
Just very tired.
Hey, Fergal, it's good.
Excellent. So as Fergal comes up to take a drink, you can see the sweat stains on
Yeah.
his wool, and he's just he takes a little bit and Pours it into his mouth slowly.
Mhm. It's very refreshing.
Is it sticky? Like a juice?
No, it's like water. It has it's like it actually has the taste or the feel of water.
Like sweetened water, but yet
Yeah,
not
like
sticky.
sweetened water. Yeah.
Okay,
Those
so
no
he's going
sticky
to take a couple drinks, and then he's going to pour a little in his hands, and he's going to just wipe it on his face like this. And
You hear
on the-
some laughs about that. Hawkins, you getting you some too?
I'm gonna get some. Look
Okay.
the dude in the eye. Look
Okay.
at the rest.
Okay.
Unhook my mostly empty canteen and pour it in. Close
Okay.
it.
Okay. But you probably would be quite thirsty as well at the moment. Are you going to drink any at all?
I drank one drink and
Okay,
poured the
that's
rest in.
Okay. It takes about a minute or so, and you almost feel drunk. Not to the point of you're having a bender, but it's as if you've had a couple good stiff drinks.
Actually feels quite nice, lads.
Yeah, it actually feels pretty good. Actually,
I
you see the officer go over. He actually gets some of this as well and he drinks some, and then he actually lets the rest of his men come and start drinking some. He motions to, and almost inviting you toward this airship.
if that's the case, then I'm gonna grab my Lewis and I'm gonna
Well, as you go to grab the Lewis, he holds his hand out.
glare
And
at his hand.
He says, and you perfectly understand him somehow, not yet.
Hang on.
You all understand him saying, not yet.
How's his accent? Is it American?
Actually, it's British. Oh, and Fergal, it's Irish. And Hawkins, it's New Zealander.
Hey, mate.
Interesting.
And you realize that his mouth did not move enough to say those words.
I'll nod and I'll actually walk up to him and I'll gesture toward the ship. You first, man.
Okay. He says, I will detail one of my men to carry your weapons, but they will be kept safe. They will not be harmed.
I'm going to expect that all of that's going to be there in pristine order when it's returned to me then.
And the lion.
Can they clean it too? Just saying.
If you wish. But please, come aboard my airship.
And-
Fergal's joking.
And the lion. Can you make sure that the lion is preserved?
I'll get you a live one.
Really? And
He turns and looks at Terrence and says, "Come, you're the commander of this small force, yes?"
Yes, I'm in charge.
Okay. Then, upon your honor, if you would swear for your companions that they will not cause harm upon the ship, you may be allowed to keep the rest of your armaments.
I'm going to look back at my lads and I'm just going to give you a look that says, the answer is yes, isn't it?
define harm.
Hawkins, I swear to you, I am not a religious man, but Saint Mary, I will pitch you from that deck myself when we are skyside.
I'm simply asking for him to define harm so that I do not accidentally break any rules and get us thrown in jail again.
Hands to yourself and keep your pride tucked.
Yes, sir.
Fergal is just grinning really big, and he just looks over at Terry like, yeah, I'm going to behave.
Okay. In character, he's institutionalized, and we are negotiating with a foreign nation. He can't speak the language, and he thinks these two fucking idiots that he's saddled with are gonna get him fucking killed. His allegiance is to the king, but he wants to save his skin, and he'll kill you both. He will not hesitate to kill you both.
My loyalty is to you two.
Fergal's just grinning.
I'm going to turn back to
Sir, yes, sir.
the captain and be like,
yes, sir.
Yeah. But
Hey,
our physician, Handsy.
Hey, Terrence, you're going to notice that slight maniacal gleam in my eye that I get when there's something nearby I get to play with.
What did I tell you, son? Hands to yourself, keep your pride tucked unless they tell you to. All right. I'll turn back to the captain. Just, they'll be fine. Just ignore them.
Okay, he nods and he leads you guys back on the deck of this boat, is about all you can call it. The deck itself has some kind of a material that, as you step onto it, you feel your feet almost want to stick to it, but it lets go fairly easily. But you're pretty sure that this thing's were to tip, you'll be able to keep your footing fairly easily. It has two guns at the prow that look like they have some kind of swivel that allows them to angle down. They're similar to the kinds of guns you would see for anti-aircraft. It seems they're basically long and slender, and for the you assume these are smaller power guns than the one you saw fired at the Green Riders.
Is this? Oh, sorry, Keith. Is this similar to like a 20 millimeter Bofors?
Yeah, it looks about like that. Yeah, but the barrel's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and the mechanism doesn't look familiar to you.
Okay.
You don't see a breech. You don't see a magazine or anything like that. It has just a slot on the top that looks like you may drop a shell into,
Okay.
and then it has basically like a almost like a block that basically covers it and puts it in place. It's obviously a single shot weapon.
The captain of this vessel is gonna. It's a blind man is gonna notice my fascination at this weapon, and I'm just kind of like casual conversation with him. I've never been on an air vessel before. Is this? Well, your lads seem to be rather accustomed to this, huh?
Yes. All of these men are veterans of the Navy of Baltan.
Baltan. All right, I'll just commit that name to memory.
Yeah. The rest of the soldiers basically come back in good order, pull up the gangway, and you feel this energy rise as this thing rises into the air.
I grab a railing, just out of instinct. I grab a railing.
Okay. Pretty much all of these soldiers just. To them, it seems like second nature for this thing. They're moving around doing their business. The one lady that you saw earlier that brought you the drinks, she has your weapons. Some kind of a strap has them tied together, and she takes and places them over next to basically like some storage lockers that they have there, and she straps them securely to that so that they won't roll around the deck and whatnot. You don't see what you would call a rudder or a wheel per se, but there's a fellow standing next to some kind of device toward the front that it seems almost like it reminds you of these devices you've seen people riding on in certain places for pleasure, a bicycle, like the pedals for it. And he seems to be manipulating the individual pedals in some way that's guiding this ship. It flies up towards this larger battleship, which the closer you get, the larger you realize this thing is. And it lands on a deck. And you see this one large ship or larger launch that you're on, and there looks to be about a dozen smaller, possibly one or two man ones as well. Possibly scouts. As you guys are disembarked, he says, "I will tell you this: you are not prisoners.
We're simply guests, eh?
Yeah, you are guests, and we have orders that if we are to encounter any of you, you people you people like yourselves." That we are to bring you to Baltan and to take the greatest care with you.
What does that entail, sir?
means that we are to protect you bodily, so that none can harm you or take you from our vessel.
I'll cock an eyebrow at him, and I will say, well, if we're to be your guests, then I would like to know, what should I call you, and do you know where we are from?
You may call me Gress Vaughn. I am Jed of Baltan. You get the feeling that the word Jed is some kind of a rank, possibly.
I'll nod, and I will say, my apologies, sir. What are you? For example, I am an Englishman from England, and he'll actually, you know what? Yeah, he'll actually go for it and be like, I'm, well, the Latins called my world Terra, but our modern scientists call it Earth.
Earth. I've heard this term.
What are you?
Well, I am Gress Vaughn of the Red Men of Baltan. The Confederate. Yes. The thing that you shot down below, the green being we refer to as green men. In that case, I believe they're part of the Preen tribe. They're savages.
I see.
We are civilized.
So I was not wasting ammunition when my lads and I slew them, huh?
No, slaying green men is never a waste of ammunition. They're raiders, they are scavengers, and dare I say, cannibals.
Cannibals?
They have no appreciation for human life.
Well, then, God shucks, McGuire, you should have been able to scalp that one and hang him from your belt once you got brought back home. Possibly you'll land yourself a girl and a half with that trophy.
As you say, sir. I lean over to Hawkins and I say, this must be what happens when you tan your balls too much.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I should probably check on those later. Make sure he's doing okay.
You do hear one of the soldiers looks over to Hawkins and says, "So what are we carrying the tard for?"
The tard?
I was carrying it for possible food, water, armor, experimentation. You know.
Just so you know, they taste horrible and their flesh is poisonous. So
it would have been interesting in that case. Do you by any chance have a live one? I mean, and maybe a soundproof room.
There are some in Baltan. They're kept as pets by some.
Interesting.
Jed, I spoke of our scientists where we're from.
Yes.
Hawkins, Baldric here is one of these scientists who is a very keen mind for learning, and I'm gonna actually roll a stealth test, and I'm gonna try and like wink at Baldric, be like, all right, just you know what I'm gonna say with a wink, and I don't have to say anything else. Just what do I gotta roll for that here? Well, I said D8.
You don't have to roll anything.
Oh, all right, cool. You won't make me roll for it.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
So yeah, you just convey that to Hawkins there. He says, well, to your earlier question, if you are from where I believe you are from, we call it Jasum.
Jasum.
Here, where you are now is Barsum.
Wait. It's starting to all like sink into him because from his days in university, the potato-shaped moon, the red landscape, the fact that he just referenced Earth as by a different name, and he's just gonna kind of like whisper it. He goes, "We're on Mars." That's
Yes, that is the word that was used. I had forgotten it. Yes, that is the word that the others referred to it as Mars. Yes, we are on Mars.
I'm gonna lean over to Fergal. I think our sergeant has had too many hallucinogenics.
Yeah, maybe that water was stronger than we thought. He did drink first.
True, true.
One of the things, Hawkins, because you are a bit of a linguist, you've noticed that while this guy's been talking, his lips, his words aren't moving the right way for him to be saying the words that you're hearing from him.
Yeah, I think I've had a little too much to drink too.
Well, for instance, when he said Jocelyn Barsoom, his mouth actually moved. He actually said Jocelyn Barsoom, and occasionally he'll say other words, almost like punctuation, but it's almost like you're hearing what he's thinking.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Can I run an experiment with you real quick?
That depends. What kind of experiment do you wish to run?
Think of a color.
You immediately get a vivid image of yellow.
All right, that proves my theory. Now I'm gonna think of.
Yes, I do understand. Some people from your world do not communicate the way we do. We have the drink that you drank of earlier is distilled from certain plants that allow you to be, as the priests say, connected to Barsoom. It allows us all to communicate. So it is how the green men control their animals without reins, and their hunting targets, and how we communicate in most days.
So he leans over to Hawkins. Or this was all in Hawkins' head, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we didn't hear.
Well, you all heard it.
You heard it. That's the messed up part.
You all heard it. It's like he's broadcasting to all of you.
So he leans over to Hawkins and said, "This is like some of that whiskey, some really strong fucking whiskey."
So if I can project any image, I'm gonna test this.
Okay.
And he projects an image of a very well-dressed lady showing her ankle.
Okay. You get a couple of soldiers around you, sort of. It's like they look towards you, but it's almost like they don't get the context.
Huh.
Once you're actually on the larger ship, you're escorted to cabins. There are adjoining cabins. There's actually a door between them. There's only two though. One has two bunks, and one has a larger one. Obviously, that one's for Terrence. And you're offered to change clothes, because your clothing is pretty much, you've been in it for a while. You've been on down the trenches there in Gallipoli, so your smell is probably noticeable. So you're offered clothing of a similar style to what they have, and you're also offered basically like a bowl of water, and like sponges and basic things you use to clean yourself up with.
All right.
Not a full bath, but as if you wanted to, hit the high points, if you will. So.
Terry will he'll change out of his battle dress, fold it up nicely, the way an institutionalized man would. He crackles. Right? Ooh. Yeah. So smart. It's got a PhD from Cambridge. And he'll put on the Martian garb, but what he will do is he will put his belt back on, his M1911, his boot knife, and his trench knife, and he'll he'll emerge from this cabin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got McGuire and Hawkins. You guys going to change out of your clothing too? Well, are you?
I was letting McGuire go first.
I would imagine that Hawkins begins washing the armpits and trying to tidy up his clothes, and then
Okay.
he folds it and puts it into his backpack,
Okay.
and puts on the different clothing, but he stows all his gear on him.
Okay.
So he's still
Yeah.
carrying his backpack,
Yeah.
his everything.
Yeah, it's not a big problem at all to put your LBE back on, no problem. So
Okay.
And after you've been there for a bit, the young lady comes back and tells you that the captain would like to invite you to eat.
Player question.
Okay,
Are the thought broadcasts constant, or do we have to intentionally do it?
you don't know yet.
All right. In that case, as I'm folding up my clothes,
Mhm.
putting on the new clothes, I'm thinking about everything in this room that can be used as a weapon.
Okay, there's several things.
And I am hiding them all over my person.
Well, not really anything like. There's not really anything small that you could actually use as a weapon. There's a couple of urns that are they're sort of in brackets. They won't fall over. There's a chest. You could probably pry the lid off the chest and use it as a weapon. Things like that. There's nothing that will be obviously easily secreted as a weapon.
Well, I take my field medicine kit, hook it on the belt. I take the bayonet, or because they didn't make us drop the bayonets, they just made us drop them.
No, they allowed you to keep your personal weapons.
I prominently display that, and I look at one of the urns, and I shatter it.
Okay, you actually hit it, and this thing actually hurts your hand. It doesn't shatter.
Okay.
You put a slight dent in it. It seems to be metallic, actually.
Is there a mirror anywhere nearby?
No, there's not.
No mirror?
No
Any
mirror.
screws? Bolts?
No, you don't see any screws or bolts. No.
Dang it. All right.
Matter of fact, the more you look at this thing, the more you're perplexed exactly how this thing is put together. It seems almost like it was molded from one piece of metal.
Well,
The floors, the walls, the ceilings, everything.
I'm going to take my time washing up while contemplating exactly how their anatomy must work and all of the points at which a critical blow could be done
Okay. Well,
before I join for dinner.
From your view, they seem to be very human-like, possibly the same anatomy as yours. It's hard to tell if there's a major difference. They all of them have dark-colored hair, though.
All right.
So,
Well, I'm basically going over in my head from basic training what we were taught,
okay.
and basically keeping an eye out for any type of weaponry in case it's needed.
Okay. Well, one thing you notice as you're allowed to walk out of your cabin and walk around if you want, or if you want to follow the ladies to dinner if you want. You notice that everybody on this ship seems to be carrying a personal blade of some type.
I'll follow to the dinner, but if I see wait, everybody's carrying a weapon, right?
Yes.
Are we traveling in a group to the dinner? Fergal, Terrence, all of us?
I would imagine that since we're attached to each other, we're probably would, especially because we don't know where the hell we are. So I would imagine that Fergal's going to wait because he's a private. And the whole time that he was getting ready, he's probably thinking about food and sex and then food. And then as she shows up, he thinks to himself, is this Virginia? And then he imagines, he starts harkening back to, the night with Virginia.
She sort of smiles, and if anything, she actually turns a little bit redder than normal. And she says, "No, I'm not Virginia. You may call me Sela." And I'm very flattered.
And he's kind of like dry mouthed and he doesn't know what to say and he's flush and just kind of steps and leans against the wall like he's at ease or something.
Yeah. Okay, she giggles a little bit and says, "Oh, you're very young, aren't you?"
No, I'm of
You have
age.
you have the blush of a youth. So,
I am a full man, and now he looks like he's starting to get red. Like she just insulted an Irishman.
she just sort of laughs and says, "If you say so, yes." And she asks if the rest of the companions are also going to be attending the dinner as well.
Yeah,
Or if you
I've
wish
already
to-
left for the dinner. I
Okay.
assume that you guys are following me.
Okay.
I actually stop
Mhm.
and look for anybody small and weak,
No,
like kind of lingering behind the pack.
none of these people that you pass on your way to the dinner look to be small or weak. These are all soldiers. They're well trained. You can tell they're actually well conditioned as well.
All right. Is there anybody that seems to not be paying too close attention? Can I make a
No.
notice roll for that?
And I'll tell you, you'll not find anybody who's not paying attention. Literally, as you approach, they go to attention against the walls to give you passage, as if you're honored guests. You find yourself in an oblong room with glassed-in walls. You can see that you've gained considerable height from where you were before, and below you see what can only be described as a ruin, a massive city. And cutting down the middle of it is a thin line of silver as the sun reflects off the water. Along the edges of this water, probably you can't really tell the exact distance because the size of the buildings is causing your perspective to be skewed a bit.
Mhm.
But along the edges of this stream of whatever it is are green swaths. Green, blue, orange, red, all manners of colors of vegetation that you can see from where you're at.
I'll just Terry will kind of let out an appreciative sigh as he's seeing a very well maintained garden. Terry is a gardener, way
Yes.
deep down
Yeah,
under his army career.
Yeah, this and from your perspective, so high up, this thin band of vegetation along this waterway is set within what looks almost like a blasted desert in all directions. That has that reddish hue that you would expect from being seen from Mars. The sky itself actually has a slight green tint to it.
I
The sun itself
appreciate your gardening. He'll kind of like sweep an index finger along that line. Not many
those are
know.
those are the provinces there.
Not many know this about me, but I appreciate that fine work.
If we have time, I can find someone to possibly escort you and show you some of those fields. That's where most of our food comes from.
I would very much enjoy that. He just kind of gets this glazed over, like lost in the beauty kind of look to him.
As you sit down, each of you is offered a plate of it has a variety of looks like fruits and vegetables on it, possibly. They don't look like anything that you're familiar with, though.
Any silverware?
There is what looks like maybe bronze. There's like a fork. It only has 2 tines, though. It's 2 really then. But it only has 2 tines, and there is no knife.
I'll take my trench knife out and kind of use as a paring knife on what I would assume to be the like a pear or an orange. Like skin it, cut it open. And I'll just kind of like look around like, my apologies, I'm using a gruesome weapon of war to open a fruit.
The attendees, other than you guys, the red people, You now see them without their helmets and their battle gear on. So their hair is definitely black. They're all fairly attractive. You don't see an unattractive one among them at all. Their eyes are dark, and it says so is their hair, and they have reddish tinted skin, not like you've seen on the Native Americans. It's actually more of a true red tint.
The first thing that pops into Terry's mind is one of his friend that sent him his sidearm, his pistol, is an American, and he's told him about their red Indians, quote unquote, and it's immediately what he thinks of. But he goes, "No, these people are much more red from what I've seen." And he'll actually point, he's kind of forgetting himself, kind of points with the blade of his trench knife at like the arm of one of these people, and he'll go to the Jed. Are you lot born this way?
Yes.
Red. Oh.
All red Martians are hatched with red skin.
Well, it's quite beautiful, actually. We don't have any of
And
that where I come from.
the image you get from the phrase that he talked about, it's almost like you get a little additional information about it. That when he says hatched, he literally means hatched, as if they're born from eggs.
He immediately thinks of the platypus or the echidna.
Okay. Are you thinking
And he
that
actually-
him, or is this a personal thought?
This will. Actually, you know what? Let me put it this way, Keith. It's meant to be a personal thought, but it slips, and he actually thinks of the term a monotreme, or what he would know from a textbook.
Okay. The Jed sort of looks at you and says, "I've not heard that term before."
Oh, it's
But from what you thought, I believe it will be appropriate to call us that. Yes.
and he just kind of gives the Jed this look, and he'll purposefully make his thoughts fall silent again.
And yes, before he looks at the other three, all three of you, says, before the question happens to be asked, yes, our kind and your kind are fertile. So there's been at least one.
I didn't say anything.
I am pretty sure that it would be an interesting experiment to run, and that Fergal would be very good for this experiment.
What? Wait, what? How did... Sir? Are you going to allow this?
Come on now.
Yes.
These are civilized people.
I
Shut the fuck up.
I look at
What do you
Fergal
mean?
and just smile, just like a slightly evil grin.
Okay.
Did he say
So this-
syphilis or civilized?
I'm not sure which, but I'm
so-
gonna take a fork, just look at it
Okay.
real quick, and just
Okay.
slam it into the table to see how far I can bury it.
You actually bury it up to the end of the tines. So this table though is not made of any kind of wood you're familiar with. It's way too smooth. It's almost metallic-like, but it seems as if maybe the material is a bit softer than metal. So, as far as that fruit you were cutting into there, Terrence, it has once you actually peel the surface off, it has the look of an avocado, which I'm not sure if your character has ever actually experienced before.
He has not.
Okay, and it has a very cool, crisp taste to it. It actually tastes like avocado too. The other fruits, it's a bit disconcerting in the fact that your eyes will say, "Oh, this looks like the flesh of an apple," and you bite into it, and it has a citrus flavor to it.
Yeah, he's kind of enjoying the fact that he's very much playing games with on his taste buds.
Yeah, and the food's very good.
Is there possibly a fruit on there that's like hairy like a kiwi?
Yes, there is one.
I'm gonna go for that one next because it's the most outlandish thing on his plate, and All right, let's see what this is.
You cut it open, and it has the texture inside. It has the texture and almost the flavor of fish, a very mild fish.
He'll just snort and be like, "Where?" And he'll put it face down. We're like, "No, that one's kind of gross." He'll go on to the next one.
Okay, so I said, these fruits and vegetables and such that you're given they're very filling. After just not too much more than a full plate, you actually find yourselves pretty close to satiated as far as your hunger goes. And more of that wine has been provided for you as well. Yes, Hawkins?
Sergeant,
What is it, Hawkins?
these walls are glass, right?
Open your eyes, Hawkins. Are they?
I don't know. Pulls out my combat knife.
I will remind you, my friend,
Which is a short sword.
that we are guests in this Jed's household, and
Mhm.
you're being incredibly rude to our host. And I'm going to level him with a glare.
Mr. Jed, sir, do you mind if I test your glass?
That's not glass.
What material is it?
It is a form of crystal that's grown.
So is it alive?
No,
Can it feel
it's
pain?
not that we're aware of. No,
Have you
and I
tested this
I
theory?
doubt your blade will leave a mark upon it.
Do you mind if I test that theory?
Yeah, sure. If you'd like, yes, go ahead and let's see
See?
how your metal fares against our ship's sides. He sort of sits back with an amused look on his face.
I look at the sergeant. I have permission. And I actually sing-song that out. And I take
I
a
just
running
stare.
start and just battle cry charge the glass.
Okay. Make me an agility check as this thing literally hurls you backwards as you impact it. It's like all the energy that you hurled into this thing suddenly gets literally thrown back at you.
Did you want me to make a strength check for how much strength I put into that?
Sure.
That was probably a stupid question to ask. Can I switch dice in the middle of rolling?
No. So let's just put it this
47
way.
strength
Okay.
into that, and my agility is 1.
So you're thrown across this and one of the things you guys notice is that as she begins charging towards this wall, or he does,
1.
the people who were standing between him and the opposite wall move. They have a very open area, and they all seem to have a very knowing look on their face. When he hits that wall and it throws him back, it throws him literally across the entire room, and he rebounds off the opposite wall and winds up in the middle of the room. Somewhat stunned.
Somewhat.
And you are holding half of a blade.
Are you finished yet, you fucking idiot?
Oh, there's you see the collected red men sort of that they give a bit of a laugh, and the Jed himself actually walks over and holds his hand down toward Hawkins and says, "Thank you very much for the entertainment. Those walls are designed to repel any kind of you get in your mind translated kinetic energy," and hurls it back in the opposite direction. They're very good defense.
Outwardly, I politely take his hand and smile, but inwardly, I am mentally thinking about 8 ways to kill this man for the humiliation.
Okay, he lifts you up and says, "Don't worry about the this. This is something that honored guests are allowed to do. You could cause the ship no harm, and I do not believe you would have been harmed in the process. From the legends, the men of Vajasum are a very hardy bunch." So,
Yes, sir. I am done, sir. My apologies, sir. To Terrence.
Okay.
And then you can hear Fergal say, "Oh, they've got crew beams." And he's like, "Sir, they've got crew beams."
I see. Have some of
I
mine,
s-
Fargo.
I-
Have some of mine.
Those are like
Fergal's awesome.
boiled pig's feet or something.
Something like that. One of the things you do notice is that none of the food that you're served is meat. It's all apparently, well, unless that one, what you thought was a fuzzy fruit was actually some kind of animal.
Well, as he picks it up, he realizes it's a fruit and looks disgusted. It's like, oh, yeah.
Hey,
And he just kind of slides it back over to Terry's plate.
where's
I'll
the
pick
beef?
it up and I'll eat it.
Where's the pork? Where's the good protein chewiness?
Well, most of the animal protein of this world would be poisonous to your kind as of right now. You haven't had a chance to adapt yet.
Is that
What
a
do you mean
fact?
adapt?
At first, those who eat of the flesh of Barsoom, who are from Jassoon, can, well, it can cause delirium. But eventually the body adjusts to it. But we're trying to spare you that discomfort and displeasure.
Sergeant,
What is it?
permission to eat and experience so I can take notes.
I'm gonna, well, like a couple of things on my plate that I've touched. I'll move it off to the side. I'll kind of like move it halfway between two of us. I'm assuming that I am seated closest to the Jed. There is a open spot to my right, and then Fergal is sitting. Would be on your right if you sat down. So I move my plate about halfway between what your seat would be and my seat would be, so I can still like eat some of the fruit while I'm chatting. So and I like move the shit that I haven't touched to your side of the plate, so I can let you experiment and I can still partake of the stuff that I still want to eat. Actually,
I just start grabbing everything that Fergal and
I'm gonna smack
Terrence
your
does
hand
not
and,
show
like,
an interest in.
take the yeah.
Anything that you do
there.
not show an interest in.
Try the crew beams.
Fergal doesn't
Yes.
show an interest in.
Yeah.
Delicious.
There is actually one fruit, Fergal, that sort of surprises you. It tastes like a potato.
Oh, what's that one? I haven't had
Yes.
that one yet.
It's orange with black speckles on it, and the flesh of it has a slight orange look to it, but it tastes just like a potato.
Fergal, is that a
And being Irish
that-
myself,
is that has
um,
that turned? Can you eat that?
Try it.
Yeah.
It actually tastes pretty good.
Yeah. Isn't it? It probably goes in a good soup with fish, doesn't it? Maybe rabbit.
so
Breaking
Make
As
some
you,
whiskey out of it.
if we had to.
Vodka.
So as you eat, most of the conversation is just sort of polite generalities. Like he asked you about this England you come from and Ireland. He makes sure he talks to Terrence quite a bit, but he also makes sure to pay some attention to Hawkins and McGuire. He seems to, oddly enough, the look and the way he communicates towards Hawkins, he seems almost to like Hawkins, as if Hawkins he's interesting, I guess is the term that you sort of feel off of him.
Well,
As if he wants to see what he'll do next.
as well he should be. Hawkins is a very interesting gent.
Yes.
What my
He's slightly crazy.
explanation of where England is and where I'll say like a good 200 some years previously, the individuals who now live in what you know of now as Virginia used to be from England, and they crossed the sea, and then there was a misunderstanding. But once this
I've
was
heard-
resolved, we are now friends.
He seems to latch on your term of the sea.
Yeah,
And he says, "See, I've heard of this. Is it true that you have vessels that float upon an abundance of water
yeah, it's
and travel?"
smaller of these vessels are called boats, and larger ships, of course, and then you have large metal behemoths similar to this contraption that you have, but obviously aquatic as well as instead of avian.
He gets a look of wonder on his face as you start describing that, and he says, "It would be such a pleasure to see one of these ships floating upon water. Right? I should see enough water for something the size of this to float." Some of the children that have been educated in the great city-state of Helium have claimed that there is a pool there that their Jedak allows his children to play in, and they float small, I guess, boats, as you would call them, upon this, and using small radium engines, they can have little battles and such.
Oh, that'd be a pool for children to play in. Of course, yeah. That's sometimes Earth Terran children can play in these. Sometimes, however, I will say that my youngest sister and I, when we were children, used to play in a river that was close to my family's home. There's many such things like that on Earth.
Place with such abundant water.
What's happened to Barsoom's water? Water is a common thing for us where we come from, and I'll just kind of gesture my companions like, oh yeah, like this is kind of like, of course, water. Hey,
Yeah, we have these things called jellyfish that, you get stung by them and it kills you by drowning.
Miserably ugly things. Yeah, Hawkins. Yeah,
They're actually very interesting. You see, they secrete this poison. And I start going into the technical details of how it kills you.
I say, see, scientist.
Yes, definitely. Our scientists back home would be very interested to speak with you about that.
Well,
but he motions out the window towards the place you're coming to at the moment, and you see there's this great escarpment off to the left, away from where this waterway was, and it drops off fairly steeply into it looks like possibly a canyon that looks like it's probably about 3 times the width of the Grand Canyon, and maybe 2 or 3 times as deep. And he said, once there was enough water on Mars to carve that. Our scientists believe that some great calamity in the past, some great war, may have caused Mars to lose most of its water. We're not exactly sure. At one time we thought we believed that we were cursed by Issa, but that religion is no more.
is it? Oh,
So, I got a question for you. And Hawkins speaks up. He's kind of pretending to be drunk at this point because
Okay.
he's just shoving his mouth full of food and drink.
Yeah, this drink is definitely making you guys feel. Yeah.
I bet my entire pay, 2 shillings, that Hawkins and not Hawkins, but my sergeant and my favorite private that I ever met in the world, McGuire here, can beat any of you all in a brawl. And I hold up 2 shillings and slam them on the table.
They bounce.
Where's the loo?
Oh, they point you towards a door in the back.
And Fergal gets up and puts his hand on the sergeant's shoulder and says, "You got this, sir." Walk into the
So,
actually, wait,
Okay.
hang on here. Oh fuck, he's actually gonna do it. He's gonna reach up and grab Fergal's hand, and I'll be like, "I have a present for you, Private." And he's gonna kind of lean over in his seat, and like one of his butt cheek pockets, and he'll reach back in there. He'll take out a tooth, set that on the table. Remember that?
That's why I said you got this. And then he starts walking away.
You may go to the loo.
Were you still holding my hand?
I let go of it now.
Oh, okay.
As soon as you see the tooth, I let go.
The Jed looks at this tooth laying on the table, and he sort of gets confused, looking at his face, and looks at you and says, "Is this a common practice among your soldiery that the commander carries a portion of each of the soldiers for him?"
Fergal, show him your chompers, huh? Show me your gnashes.
Okay.
He kind of stops as he's walking out, and he just stares at the wall, and then he looks up at the ceiling.
Mhm.
Come on, lad. Come on.
Looks over to the right, and his back is turned to him. And he turns around, and is that an order, sir?
It's not an order, but it's a request. Just show the Jed your gnashes. Come on.
He comes walking over there, and he just cocks his head over to the side, and he shows him where he lost the tooth.
I smile at Jed and I'll be like, the boy was popping off, and I accidentally kicked him in the head once.
You should have seen. You should have seen the whole fight. You see, our sergeant here, he also got beat up pretty bad. I had to fix his nose and everything.
No, the nose had to be reset. That's why it's crooked. These lads are an excellent time once you get a few drinks into them.
We have doctors that can actually fix that and replace that. They replace that tooth.
With that, I get very serious. You touch my work, I kill them.
I'm not going to let them touch your work, indicating my person.
If we can replace this, I'd be happy to try that out.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, we can reattach the tooth. Yes.
Fergal, if you let them reattach that tooth, I will take it out myself without.
Oh, come on.
either.
Just
come on.
Hawkins, I don't want him to have the tooth back. Believe me, because it's mine. But if he wants it back, let the lad have his tooth back, and I'll kind of pick up the tooth,
sure.
Put it in front
Actually,
of Fergal.
Fergal's getting kind of red and pissed, and he just says, "Which one of you? Which one of you?" And he starts pointing him. Come on, this little 5'6".
You know what? I'll take you this time. I haven't boxed in a while.
Come on.
This little doctor stands up.
As you stand up, you teeter a bit as you realize that whatever this alcohol is, it's gotten you a little bit more than you expected. In fact, you're all starting to get a bit tipsy. So,
you know what? Bring it, Fergal. Bring it.
God, I just gesture to the Jed. I'm like, they are rowdy. I apologize, but
it is to be expected. Some of mine may get the same way.
They're fun, eh? And I kind of gesture to the rest of the troopers in the room. Fun, yeah.
The first thing I'm going to do, I'm not even going to let it be a fair fight. I'm just going to try to kick Fergal in the balls.
Well, as I said, as you do, you stumble, and being the fact that you're a bit drunk, you forget that you're actually on a different planet with different gravity, and you wind up actually flipping yourself upward and down on the ground again. As you kick forward. For a good laugh had by all. But with that, as I said, basically the rest of that will sort of wind up. And you'll be held back to your quarters. And with that, as you guys lay there in your quarters, I'll start with Hawkins this time in reverse order. What's Hawkins thinking about as he lays down somewhat woozy in this bunk?
Well, first off, he's really happy that Fergal didn't get a chance to punch his face in because he knows for a fact he would have lost.
But man, my nuts would have hurt.
But the second thing he's thinking about is exactly how to protect everybody, because he knows he's on a dangerous planet. His loyalty is to the crown and the king and his unit, no one else. So he is thinking about the exact way to dismantle every single person on this ship, what he has seen so far, how he could possibly take out the most amount of people in a short amount of time without the weapons that they are used to. What food he saw, what water he saw, the fact that the meat was poisonous, how he could contaminate their food supply, their water supply, what he could do to take everybody down if he had to.
Okay, very good. So Private McGuire, what is going through your mind as you lay down for the evening?
So as Fergal comes into his room, he's just looking around, and he sees one of the canisters, and it reminds him of the spittoons at the edge of the boxing rings. And he's kind of harkened back. He's kind of stepping back and imagining the scene that he's had in his past. And he's sitting there hearing the cheers of the crowd and the boxers in the ring. And through some of the lights, he could see this brown hair just kind of billowing down. And it's like, it's not Virginia. No, that was Elise. And he starts thinking on Elise as he sits down and starts disrobing. And then he just kind of gets sad because he's considering the fact that that's home. And the realization is really kind of just, he feels the weight of the moment just kind of right into him. And that's where he's back on this thing. And he actually takes out his hygiene kit and begins cleaning his boots because he's trying to keep his mind off of it. And so he's actually focusing on cleaning as he's kind of trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Well done there. And Sergeant Terrence Hawthorne, what is going through your mind as you lay your head down?
Terry's head is actually kind of swimming with all of this information. He's just kind of come to the conclusion that, well, he's not home. This isn't Turkey. This isn't Egypt. This isn't anywhere. He's not a religious man, and he's not inclined to be praying to a higher power, like, oh, God, send me home, that kind of thing, or help me get home. He's kind of placed his own like survival in faith in in himself, as well as his lads, and he kind of goes over his not exactly his mantra, his personal motto, code of conduct is, I don't care how or whom, but I'm going to be stomping on throats, elbows, knees, groins. I don't care who. My lads are coming home in one piece. And he gets up. He actually finds like a bit of cloth and what would pass for a mirror, and he'll actually kind of like shave off his mustache and kind of like down to like stubble, so it's kind of like messy as he's left it a few days. So all of his facial hair is the same length, and he'll just kind of look at his gear and the life that he previously knew, and he's dreading the fact that it slips out. I hope that life is not gone. He is a person genuinely enjoyed being a soldier, and just finally kind of he takes off his Barsoomian shirt and takes off his belt, his boots, and he kind of like lays down in bed, kind of like looks at the ceiling there. He will grab his M1911. You'll actually see that it's actually engraved along the slide, and it says Hawthorne on it. He'll just kind of think to himself, thanks, Jim. Yeah. He'll kind of like stick it behind him as he's laying down, stuff it under his pillow. He'll lay on his back, and he'll be holding his trench knife, and he'll actually kind of like drape his arm across his chest. And he won't sleep comfortably, but he will sleep. As he kind of drifts off to sleep, kind of like thinking of where and when we are. the swirling of the alienness and the ungodliness, the outlandish silence of this whole situation. And screen will go dark at that.
As that, our vision pulls back from these three intrepid wanderers and out the side of the great battleship that cruises along the skies in the darkness above the nighttime Martian landscape. It pulls back further, going higher and higher, showing more of the landscape. And off in the distance, just upon the horizon from where this airship drifts, you see a single spire that has a light that flashes from the top. And then flashes again, as if reminiscent somewhat of a lighthouse guiding a ship home. Our vision drifts higher and higher until the ship is just a pinpoint, and we start losing the individual mountains and features until we pull back into the inky blackness of space, gazing down upon the planet Mars as one of the moons cruises by just in front of our vision. The screen goes dark. Next week, same time, we shall see what happens of our travelers upon the blood red sand. And with that, good night.
Good night, everybody.